Harley Beluski.
Here we go. Good morning. Kerr County Commissioners Court is now in session. It is Monday, May the 10th, 2021. It's 9 o'clock in the morning. If you would, I believe, I hate to catch you by surprise here, but I don't know. If you would stand for the prayer and the pledge, which will be led by Commissioner Blue.
Let's pray. We're thankful to be able to be here today, Lord. We thank you for the rain that you've given us and the rain that's on the way. We ask that you protect those who might have a little too much of it or the high winds. Help our emergency workers, protect them, and we ask that you would rule and overrule in the proceedings here today. And we ask it in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. Remind everyone, if you would, put your phones on vibrate so they don't go off in court proceedings here. First thing on the agenda, as always, is public input. If anyone would like to address the court, this is your opportunity for us to receive your input. We ask that if it's on the agenda, what you want to talk about is on the agenda, that you wait until that agenda item is called. So if there's something that is not on the agenda that the public would like to address, this is your opportunity. Okay, very well. We'll move on to Commissioner's comments. We'll start with Precinct 1.
Nothing to report.
Let's see, we have a town hall meeting on Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. Center Point Cafeteria, and it's to let the public know about, in more detail, about the planned developments, three different planned developments, 2 in Precinct 2 and 1 in Precinct 3, and Center Point Village, close to Center Point, and then Verde Creek Ranch between Center Point and Camp Verde Store. And there's just been a lot of question by the public of what's going on, especially with the new in Camp Verde, Verde Creek Ranch. So it's to just let the developers get there and say, here's what we plan to do, and Headwaters and Groundwater has been involved, so that'll be that should be good. Another thing is we've talked a lot about quarries and asphalt facilities and things like that. Ingram Ready Mix is proposing or applied for permits to put a ready mix facility right near Fox Tank on Highway 27. It's right at the entrance of West Texas Aggregate. So we'll see how that goes. Right now, West Texas Aggregate, I think, is selling a lot of their material to Ingram Ready Mix, so it'll eliminate some trucks and create other trucks. So I don't know what the net truck traffic will be there. And then the final thing is the new bridge over Verde Creek at Whit Road has been it's been approved by the TxDOT, and it will start. They'll let the contract in October, probably start construction in January, and should be through by June of next year. So there'll be a detour there for some time. So that's all I've got.
Good. Precinct 3.
Well, that was unfortunately Tigers baseball lost over the weekend. They had a good game up at two very good teams. They lost Cedar Park, but their season came to an end, which was not great. But they had a very good year. A lot of very young kids coming up. It'll be a very young team next year, so that'll be interesting. And this on the same note, a lot of schools are doing various events the next couple of weeks. Some of the private schools are letting out last week and this week, and Tybee has events going on, I know, at the stadium tonight and around, so everyone just be aware of that. And anyone's offering jobs, I'm sure there's a lot of kids in the high schools that would love some summer work.
Speaking of schools, Ingram Elementary had a huge turnout last week for their duck races. A big fundraiser, and boy, it's a great community event. Big turnout, and it was very well received for their first annual duck race.
What kind of duck won?
little yellow ducks. And if you bought one and you had your name or your number on it, well, you're a winner. They have a bunch of prizes and stuff. But they raised a lot of money. It was a good community event. Thankful for the rain we had. Things are awful green. It looks like we got a shot for some more, and hopefully that comes through with no bad stuff associated with it. So that's all I got, Judge.
Very good. Okay, let's move on to the consideration agenda. Item 1.1, discussion and update regarding COVID-19. Deb Thomas.
Morning, Judge, morning, Commissioners. So, for COVID-19, as far as our numbers go, as of May the 10th this morning, we had, and this is off the dashboard because I only get the spreadsheet from DSHS once a week now. I get it on Mondays, so sometime this afternoon I'll get an update from them. We have 45 active, and we had 6 in the hospital as of Friday. I think that number is going to be considerably lower this morning, but we'll know something later on this afternoon. Vaccinations, we're still continuing to vaccinate people. Last week, Monday through Friday, the Texas Military Department was here. We vaccinated 666 people total. That was both first vaccines and second doses as well. Total vaccines allocated to Kerr County has been 20,100. Total number of vaccines given is 30,151. Those with who have had at least one dose is 17,731. And 13,558 people have been fully vaccinated. And so that should include the 666 that we vaccinated last week. They were supposed to update those within 24 hours. So vaccinations are coming along. I think we're about to the point of saturation, meaning the number of vaccines running around through the county at Walmart, HEB, CVS. You can just about get a vaccine anywhere. In fact, I was told last week that they were announcing it over the loudspeaker at Walmart to come get your COVID-19 vaccine, but nobody was in line. So you can get it just about anywhere now. We are going to have Texas Military Department back here on June 1st and 2nd, and that will be to complete the second doses for the ones that we did last week. And anybody else that wants a second dose. So we did 5 days for one dose, and it was, I consider 666 a small turnout, but I think we can do those second doses in 2 days and be done with it. And I'm pretty positive that Peterson Health is going to be doing one more clinic with Johnson & Johnson probably this week. That information will be coming out probably later on today. That's all I have for COVID.
Deb, I've got a question. I've been reading that it looks like maybe the country's not going to reach herd immunity. You staying up with that?
I have not heard that.
Apparently not enough people have taken the vaccine at this point that we may not reach herd immunity. And I'm not sure what that portends for us. I know this is not, I don't want to catch you off guard right now, but at a future meeting, it might be good if you could look into what that's going to look like for us if we don't reach herd immunity and COVID-19 stays around, because it looks like that's a possibility.
I think everybody's been under the impression that it's going to stay around anyway, regardless, but it just depends on how bad it's going to stay around, how many people are going to be affected.
Well, you know, if it's like the flu, and we didn't really have a flu season this year because of all of our safety precautions, but you just get an annual vaccine, you get an annual vaccination. It's going to be something like that. I'm just looking to report to the people to let them know what to plan on for the future, because it may be that we go get a vaccination every year.
And I've heard rumors of additional vaccines every year, like the flu shot, but I've only heard rumors, so I haven't been able to get that confirmed. But as soon as that does, we'll be sure to put that out.
I don't want to alarm anyone, other than I just want us to be prepared for whatever's coming.
Right.
Judge, Dr. McCarry's on TV, national TV quite often on herd immunity. He thinks there's, his opinion, and I think he's supportive of the data, that there's a lot of immunity because of natural immunity in addition to vaccine. If you just look at vaccine, you say, yeah, you're not getting there. But I've heard him say very, very succinctly that he predicted herd immunity in April, and he the other day, I think probably the last day or two, said he thinks it's there. So it's, and I guess the only way you find that out is by doing the antibodies and see if you have them, like Sean.
Whichever.
Yeah.
I just want us to be up to
Yeah.
speed on whatever it is,
Yeah.
so that we can tell the public what to expect. So. You got another item on the agenda, Deb. Is anything else on COVID-19?
Nothing else for COVID, Your Honor.
Let's move on to 1.2, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action regarding the update, facility use, and other matters related to the severe winter weather disaster.
Okay, what I have for you this morning is an update on the Istat numbers that people have been going in to complete the individual assistance surveys. We've got till May the 20th to do individual assistance surveys as well as the public assistance surveys. All that deadline has been extended. As far as our numbers for the Istat, which is individual assistance, we're showing 3 destroyed, 177 with major damage, 122 with minor damage, 58 affected, 205 with minimal damage, and a total of 565. So over about the last week or so, we've had probably 20 people go back in and complete the survey. I did get a call from TDM on Thursday wanting some supporting documentation that they could send along with our individual assistance surveys. Basically amounted to how many people were without power, how many people were without water, and those types of things. A lot of that, and boil water notices, a lot of that information we were able to get from the TCEQ website. One thing that we couldn't get was the total number of people in Mountain Home that had gone without water. So I told them to use the number that the 911 system gave me, which was over 1,300 addresses. I said, just give them that number. That's how many people without water. So hopefully I don't think we're going to hear anything till after May the 20th. May the 20th is the deadline for all the individual assistance and public assistance surveys. I don't see FEMA doing anything until they get all the documentation in for all the counties. So hopefully we'll hear something shortly after May the 20th.
No clue how long that'll take, though.
No, sir.
Federal government at work.
Well, they're here to help us.
Yeah, that's what's scary.
Okay, and let's move on to item 1.3. Consider, discuss, and take appropriate action regarding an MOA, memo of agreement with FEMA for including iPause in conjunction with the Code Red system and permit the county judge to sign the same.
Yes, sir. So a couple of months ago, we talked about adding iPause to our Code Red system.
Tell us what iPause is.
iPause is the Integrated Public Alert and Warning System, and it basically combines the emergency alert system and another system that FEMA runs together that we can use to, along with our Code Red system, to notify folks of some type of emergency. This is the last step. The memorandum of agreement is basically just our agreement with FEMA that we're going to operate that iPause system within their rules, and that we're not going to abuse that. And it's just, it requires the judge's signature.
The county attorney has looked at it.
Yes, sir.
Is it standard stuff?
Yes, sir.
Standard federal memorandum.
Well, I mean, did you even understand it?
Yes.
That's an embarrassing.
But I said this to that whenever you did, even if I wanted to change that.
Right. Either we sign it as is, or there's no way to make any changes per county. It's all the same, right? Rubber stamp.
I mean, we could write in changes if we wanted to, but I don't know.
Can.
They would-
Yeah, they'll just say, we didn't see that.
So we salute?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is there a motion?
Move for approval of approving the memorandum of agreement with FEMA on iPause and authorize the judge to sign the same.
I'll second, but what, the question is, what's the benefit?
It's just another avenue for us to notify people when we have an emergency.
And for us to be compatible with their system.
I think it's just an additional database that we have available to alert people.
Well, it will allow us to break into local radio stations to put in, emergency alerts. So like the The emergency alert system that you hear, that the local radio stations put out a couple of times a week or a couple of times a month, we'll be able to break into that system and use that for emergency notifications.
Well, that requires equipment. How do they propose we do that? Because that comes to us via San Antonio right now.
Well, that's where it goes through FEMA.
Big brother has ways.
Big Brother.
Well, a few years back, they changed all the emergency alert systems so that we would have this standardized thing in the country. I had to go through the process of changing out for 6 different radio stations. And it still doesn't really work correctly. Just so everybody knows, that's our federal government. They got us all on the same page so that we could all be equally confused.
Equally
So,
confused.
I would like to know how that would work, because what we get for this immediate area comes out of San Antonio, and daisy chains from here to Junction and so on down the line. I don't know how we in Kerr County or in our Hill Country area, how we would have our immediate area's message in there. I don't know that it can be done with the equipment that we have. So are we signing up for something we'll never realize?
No, we'll be able to realize it. We just got to have the agreement first before I can even access their training database.
Going to cost us something?
Absolutely free.
So the
I'm
way
not
for,
so sure.
so it's a way for Code Red and you to input to the system? Is that what?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, to me, I don't see any downside unless there's equipment associated with it. Sound like
So is that a second?
Yeah, I second it.
Okay. So we've got a motion by Commissioner Moser, second by Commissioner Letts, to approve the memorandum of agreement with FEMA for the iPause system. Any other discussion?
A comment, no, but after we're look at it and see, I'd like you to come back and see the value of it really and report to us after you've had the training and see
Sure.
exactly what it does. And I guess what concerns me is that, through FEMA and all the planning, my recollection is that there was a mass immunization sector, which Kerrville was one of those, and it was thrown out the window and not used when COVID came through. So I don't have a whole lot of confidence in FEMA because they make us do a plan, which this board has approved, and then they didn't follow the plan. As I understand, is that correct?
That's correct.
So, I'd like, if you could report back as to that, how this will work at some
Sure.
point.
I'll be glad to do that.
Okay.
I think the confidence factor is obvious.
Well, from what I understand of this, it can't be executed the way it's being described. And I'm not saying that you said anything wrong, Doug, or that they've miscommunicated. But I don't know how in the world it would be done with the system we have set up, because I know how it works. So, as far as broadcast, I don't know what you guys do with emergency stuff behind the scenes.
I'll let you know.
Well, as our emergency management coordinator, I'm going to vote to give you this tool for your toolbox
Thank you.
and let us know how it works. So, all those in favor, raise your hand. Opposed? 4-1.
Judge, can you specify who was against this?
Mr. Wood. Mr. Brown. Okay. Airport Board, 1.4, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to approve John A. Major as a new member of the Kerr County Joint Airport Board. Mark Moser.
Thank you, Judge, Commissioners. Mark Moser, President of the Kerr County Airport Board. And as many of you may know, our board is made up of 5 volunteers. And I personally have been involved with it one way or another. Not necessarily a board member, but I've been in committees for 9 years. And in my opinion, this is the strongest board we've had to date. And looking ahead, based on the applicants we've had, I predict it's going to continue to get stronger. With 5-year terms, which is about what it takes to hit the strike, there's a lot to know to understand how everything works. and do the best job we can. We lose one member a year. To lose more than that would really impact our continuity. So I applaud you in allowing us to have these 5-year terms to keep continuity as such. This year we advertised for the position, as we usually do, and we're really blessed with some tremendous applicants. We jokingly said it might be in the best interest of the airport if all 5 of us resigned and took on these 5 top members, because it was difficult just to narrow it down to the top 3, very difficult. And then out of those top 3, it was a tough choice. But the top choice did eventually show himself, and I'm very pleased to bring our new member for you today. You know, I've always been told in business, sign of a good company or a good CEO is try to hire somebody better than them. Well, I think we achieved that. Today we have, I'd like to introduce John Major. John's background is extensive. He worked for what most people in accounting consider the top accounting firm in the country, KPMG. And John's position at KPMG, which is a large company, was working with private equity. And I have a background in private equity, and so he has to be able to understand the diplomacy of communication, working with these groups, and sometimes it's controversial, sometimes, you know, somebody told me that when you're working with somebody's pocketbook, it's closest to their heart, you know, so John understands that, and his glass truly is half full, as you'll understand as you get to know him. He brings his own attitude, which is contagious, very contagious. He's very optimistic, yet he knows how to get things done. He's a finisher. And John recently retired a year or 2 ago, and he's not one to sit around, so he got his CFI, which is Certified Flight Instructor. He's an avid pilot, and we need instructors. We need good instructors at the airport. We are short of that, so John's helping fill that void also. So he has been active at the airport, although he'd be a new member. He's fairly current with what's going on. And I'd like to introduce John Major. Will you say a couple words? Sure.
Well, thank you, Mark, for that kind introduction, and good morning. I appreciate the opportunity to be before the commission today. My name is John Major. I'm delighted to be here and be considered for the opportunity to join the airport board. As much as Mark, he sort of talked about my experience in 30 plus years of professional. Despite this, young demeanor look, I do have a fair bit of experience that I hope to bring to the board out at the airport. One of the factors I think I would just add is mention that in my professional experience as a CPA, and I'm still a Texas CPA, is that I've had a number of experiences working with a lot of aerospace and defense companies. And so having been a pilot for just over 40 years and also understanding sort of the people that interact with the aerospace and defense communities, the airframe manufacturers, the repair people, the flight schools, the fractional jet operators, I think one of the things it gives me is a basis to understand what the people are that are approaching the airport and what they're looking for. And then in my own mind, sort of keeping in mind the alignment of what the people of this county want. And I think that's sort of the best and highest use that I can bring to the board, is sort of keep in mind what the people of this county want for that airport, and then have that benefit of sort of understanding what the background is of the people that are approaching that airport for development opportunities. So I won't go on. I did have a resume that I think Mark and Mary put into the package today, so you can take a look at that. But I'd welcome any questions that you have of myself as you consider my opportunity.
Well, let me comment on something I think is really important at the airport. In addition to just airplane owners, operators, and things like that in consideration for board members, I think it's critically important to have somebody with the experience that you have in business, okay? Because that $17 million of assets that we have out there are important, and they have potential for growing a lot, okay? And I think it's great that with your experience you can bring that to the table and be a member, of the airport board. One question is, how long have you lived in Kerrville area, and why did you move here?
That's a great question. So my wife and I, in anticipating we would eventually retire, were looking for a place to go, and so I sort of had the benefit of looking all over the country. Started looking at Kerrville, the hill country, about 10 years ago. Bought a house in Kerrville 8 years ago, just outside of town, on the west side of town out here off of Shepherd Reese. And moved in full time. I was commuting back and forth for that 8 years since I've owned the house.
Wow.
And about a year and a half ago, we moved down here full time when I did it. Why I moved down here, I think quite honestly, there's a number of factors that came to play. The people, just the environment, you know, being in Texas, this is an awesome place to live and grow. We've got an incredible asset in the airport, as you mentioned, and I think there's a legacy that we have to preserve in that airport and to make it grow. It sort of happened at the same time that about that 2012, 2013, the airport finished another row of T-hangars. So when I located down here and bought the house, I was on a list for about 2 years to get into those T-hangars. From about 10 years ago. So 8 years ago, when they opened up, I jumped in and have been a tenant of the airport as well. So I've been over a lot of different airports in this country and flown in and out. And I think the airport for me was one of the things that helped me decide here. And my wife and I just love, you know, the weather, the people. We like it when it rains too. So, but we don't get as much of that as we'd like here. But so
Thank you.
You bet.
Well, I think that you bring, you know, the right mix to the airport board. We'd like to have people that are in diverse backgrounds that are all related to aviation. You certainly fit that bill, so I'll make a motion to approve your appointment to the airport board.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Letts, seconded by Commissioner Moser, to approve John A. Major as a new member of the Kerr County Joint Airport Board. Is there any discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous. John, step forward, let me swear you in.
Thank you.
Go to the city too.
Pardon?
At the moment it does. We're going to change it.
Okay.
Yes,
Get everybody can see you.
Yes, sir.
Raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I state your name.
I, John A. Major,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute the duties of the office
that I will faithfully execute the duties of the office
of Kerr County Joint Airport Board
of Kerr County Joint Airport Board
of the State of Texas,
of the State of Texas,
and will, to the best of my ability,
and will, to the best of my ability,
preserve, protect, and defend
preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution and laws of the United States
the Constitution and laws of the United States
and of this state.
and of this state.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
You'll need to sign right here. And okay, that starts the process. I think you go over to the city also, don't you?
Yes, sir.
Good.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you. Thanks, John. Welcome.
Okay, moving on to item 1.5, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to approve the Kerr County Joint Airport Board budget for FY 2021-2022. I see Mary back there. Is this Mark or Mary? Who's going to do this?
I'm going to do this.
Mark and Mary Show.
The Mark and Mary Show?
The Mark and Mary Show. Good morning, Commissioners, and thank you very much, and the Judge. I'm here to present the Airport Board budget for fiscal year 2021 through 2022. This is our proposed budget, which hasn't changed very much from last year. It's our income, basically what we receive from our leased income and our various fees that we charge, is a balanced budget with our proposed expenses. So we're able to operate, pay for salaries, pay for maintenance, pay for things out at the airport on a day-to-day operations based on the income that we receive from our leases. So that's big picture of what I want to make sure y'all understand. Last year's budget was approved in this time last year when it was in the midst of COVID, so we weren't quite sure where we were going to be on income with last year's budget. So if you compare it to last year's budget, you can see this year's a lot stronger than last year's, but if you go back 2 years, we're basically catching up to where we were pre-COVID. We've seen on our income that, obviously, as John mentioned, that all of our T-hangars are still 100% leased, and all of our hangars are leased, all of our offices are leased, and we have waiting lists. So we don't believe that nice solid income that we've based over many years of making investments is going to change for this year. So we're kind of gone back to our full income. We also see that the other piece is that our operator, Kerrville Aviation, is back to selling fuel as much as he did pre-COVID. So in other words, we get a percentage of fuel fees from the airport that gets served with that. And so we've gone ahead and reinitiated the actual income from 2020 into this year's. And we actually think, and we probably will need to exceed that because again, we've seen a lot of air traffic here recently as well. So hopefully we'll be able to increase our budget on that as well. So that's our budget side of it. If you go down to the bottom line on page 1, if you look back over the previous years, we've had a couple pieces of where we've had insurance proceeds. So the insurance proceeds kind of mix up the bottom line. So if you just look at the end of that $470,000 number, that's an easier one to compare year to year because we've gotten different insurance proceeds at different years and different things going on there. So that's basically the outline of our income. Do y'all have any questions regarding income?
Yeah, Mayor, I've got a couple of questions. I think just for clarity, county can approve or disapprove the airport, the budget submitted. It's not to change it, but a couple of questions. On page 1, there's a line item that hadn't been there before, which is airport land and structures. In the budget for proposed budget last year was $142,000. What is that for?
So it used to be one line item. It just used to have everything was just at airport leases. So what we did last year is we segregated out the land leases from the land and structure leases. In other words, that's all it was. It was just an accounting so that we could keep track better of what the land leases were because that's a smaller percentage versus the land and structure leases.
Okay. I think my other questions are not that significant, so I talked to you outside, but they're fine.
Okay.
I think it's just to emphasize the fact that county and city are not contributing anything to the airport operations in your budget. That's good. So,
That's good.
I have a question, Mary.
Sure.
Barring last year, the last
Uh-huh.
estimate, are we trending upward each year?
Yes, we are. It's great. It really is.
I don't want to put you on the spot, but do you have a percentage?
Well, again, if you can take I'm going to say the easiest way for us to manage on how we see our airport going is basically the fuel flowage fees. So we get a percentage of the fuel flow fees. So if you take a look at what our fuel flow fees was in 2018, was about 33,000, then 38, then 40. And we would probably go to 42 this year until we know what was going on. But we've actually seen the percentage of actual fuel that is pumped at the airport, which is basically an indicator of activity going on there. So yes, we're
Trending up.
trending up. And I think I've only been here for a couple years, but I definitely feel that it's feeling good. In other words, people are out moving around. There's airplanes on the ramp. There's airplanes in the hangars. We're feeling really bullish about where we are here in the airport.
Mary, I think that was added, or at the interlocal will be coming, almost as finished. We've been working on it for the last 6 months. But there's a provision that's been added to that about the city and the county funding, having a capital fund.
Right.
There's no amount specified, as I recall, in the interlocal agreement, or not going to be a specified amount. Is there a provision in the budget to request that from the city and the county so that that fund can start building?
Yes, on the last page 6, I guess it would be page 6, it's just a smaller table. It would be the item that's called master plan, which is the third on the line item. So at the very back of that would be our request to get started on doing that infrastructure and making sure we have the ability to move forward with that capital expense.
So the request for the city and the county is $150,000
Yes.
to go into that fund?
Yes.
Each.
Each, yeah.
Okay.
Master plan is really the only language that the TxDOT Aviation Division can speak. When we go for approval on capital development, for example, first thing they look at. And they brought it to our attention that we need to update it.
Okay.
I move for approval to for the airport board budget for this next year to be approved as presented.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Moser, seconded by Commissioner Letts to approve the budget presented by the Kerrville Kerr County Joint Airport Board for 2021-22. Any other discussion?
I'll make a comment that it won't impact the budget, but we are looking at through the interlocal agreement, insurance out there and how it's handled, and there will be probably a slight change. It's not going to change the bottom line numbers, but it may change a line item as to how some of that insurance is paid for. And we're just working that out with the TAC and the city and Jennifer and myself primarily.
Okay, any other discussion? Then those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 5-0.
Good job.
Hey, thank you very much, Joe.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to item 1.6. Consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to authorize Texas Parks and Wildlife Department contractors to spray for Arundo Donax on Kerr County property. Ms. Bushnell.
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners. Tara Bushnell with Upper Guadalupe River Authority. So both this item and the next deal with the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department's Healthy Creeks Initiative program. UGRA coordinates this program for the Upper Guadalupe River, and it's to treat Arundo Donax, which is an invasive giant cane that grows in our streamside areas along the rivers and creeks, to treat it with herbicide as management. And I'll coordinate for the properties owned by Kerr County, like Flat Rock Park, with Shane Evans, as far as when the treatment will occur, and then in the county right-of-ways or along low water crossings on county-owned roads with Kelly Hofer. So far, we're just have a list of locations that are the same as we've done in previous years. It takes a couple of years of treatment in order to completely kill the cane. But if we identify additional locations, then I'll coordinate with Shane and Kelly to get those in the program to be treated.
Move for approval.
I'll second.
We'll give a motion by Commissioner Letts, second by Commissioner Harris, to approve and authorize Texas Parks and Wildlife contractors to spray for Arundo Donax on Kerr County properties. Any other discussion?
Yeah, Tara, are we making progress?
In the locations that have been treated, yes. I mean, it is killing the cane. As far as, percentage we had in the county, it's like eating an elephant. There's a lot of it out there. So I think just doing something is better than nothing. And
It'll be an ongoing process.
Yeah, I think so. But there's about 76 private landowners and then entities like Kerr County and City of Kerrville that were signed up for it last year. And so we just keep building on that. Ideally, you'd have a neighbor that tells their neighbor that tells their neighbor, so you can get a consistent management within a stretch of river. So, yes.
Good. That'll be a good one.
Okay, then those in favor, raise your hand. 5-0, unanimous. 1.7, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to allow Texas Parks and Wildlife Department contractor to fill water tanks at the Hill Country Youth Event Center for the Healthy Creeks Initiative program to manage the giant cane Arundo Donax. Ms. Bushnell.
So the contractor's rig it was about 300-gallon tank that they've had the last couple of years. They need to fill up with water to do the herbicide mix in, and they'll fill it up once or twice a day that they're here. They can fill up at UGRA, and that's primarily what they've done during the past years, but I want to have another location towards eastern Kerr County available for them to fill up. So if that's more convenient location for them for wherever they're treating that day, they'll give Shane Evans a call and ask if they can come on to fill up the tank.
So you'd fill up a 300-gallon tank a couple of times a day for, what do we have, 25,000 gallons out there?
Yeah.
Something like that, I believe. So,
I move for
Well,
approval.
does somebody have to be there to help them, or can they just pull up and do it?
They haven't had to in the past. They've given Shane a call just the first time that they've arrived for the season, and then he'll let them know what to do. I believe the gate is open during business hours, and that's primarily where they've been.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion by Commissioner Harris, second by Commissioner Letts, to allow the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department contractor to fill tanks at the Hill Country Youth Event Center for the Healthy Creeks Initiative program. Any other discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 5-0. Moving on to 1.8, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action regarding interlocal agreement between UGRA and Kerr County regarding the Guadalupe River crossing patrols. Ms. Bushnell.
So this and the next one are litter related. We've had this interlocal agreement since 2017 to have additional patrols at 3 of our locations that have the most litter. So UGRA funds a contractor to pick up trash at 15 crossings locations throughout Kerr County, and they provide an amount of trash that they picked up during each visit, and we compile that. The 3 that consistently have the most trash are Hunt Crossing, Ingram Dam, and Brinks Crossing, which would make sense. There are 3 highest recreated, crossings, I would say, in the county. So for the past 4 summers, primarily Reagan Givens and Sean Gore have done a great job doing the litter patrol, and the ILA outlines that reimbursement to them, and then the county participates through allowing them to patrol in their uniforms and also to use county vehicles.
So it's really just the visibility of law enforcement there and communication with the public. So for that,
Yes.
I move for approval.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Moses, seconded by Commissioner Ballou, to approve the interlocal agreement between UGRA and Kerr County regarding the Guadalupe River crossing patrols. Any other discussion?
Reagan, I believe you've been one of the ones that's been involved in that, haven't you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 5-0. And your last one, 1.9.
Yes, last one.
Consider, discuss, and take appropriate action regarding the UGRA river cleanup volunteers using Hill Country Youth Event Center dumpster. Ms. Bushnell.
So again, for 2021, we're not going to hold our big one-day river cleanup event at Flat Rock Park as we've done in years past. So this year, we're going to continue the format of last year, which is an on-your-own. Groups will have the opportunity to sign up and clean up on their own schedule anytime from July through October. So also coordinating with the city of Kerrville, I will identify some locations where they can dispose of their trash. So usually we brought it all to Flat Rock Park on that one day and it was taken away. So we have our dumpster at UGRA as well as a couple other locations, and I'd like to have available the dumpster at the Hill Country Youth Event Center for that trash. We did this in 2020 as well, and I'd send Jake an email every couple of weeks just to ask, is that going okay? Has there been any issues? And he'd let me know if there was a large event, for example, that was going to probably use up most of the dumpster space coming up, and that all seemed to work well.
And we have a couple extra dumpsters from that weren't there in the past.
Oh, great, okay.
That's better. I move for approval.
Second.
Motion is made by Commissioner Harris, seconded by Commissioner Ballou, to approve the UGRA river cleanup volunteers using the Hill Country Youth Event Center dumpster. Any other discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 5-0. Thank you very much, Ms. Bushnell.
Thank you very much.
Give our best to Ray.
I will. Have a good day.
We have a timed item at 9:30. We're running a little bit behind. And that is 1.10, the update regarding the Memorial Day event. And is Ms. Sanchez here?
There she is.
I thought she was waiting outside.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How's everyone today?
Good.
I just wanted to give a quick update for our Memorial Day event. Everything's going great. Mr. Jeff Harris has graciously volunteered to be our MC this year. He's a Marine veteran. And then we have Mr. Jake Williamson from the Hill Country Youth Event Center. He's going to be our stage manager. He's an Army veteran. We have the Tybee Junior ROTC. We'll be posting the colors this year. It's really coming out very well, really good. We have a couple things we're finalizing, but just wanted to give you an update and see if you had any questions for me.
And who's going to be your speaker?
Colonel Luzma, which Commissioner Mosier will be introducing. He is a retired Marine colonel and also an astronaut. So I'm very excited, very excited for this year. So,
And that's on the 31st?
Yes, sir, at 10 o'clock. Yes, sir.
10 o'clock?
Yes, sir.
Good.
And of course, the judge will be providing our welcome remarks as well. So it's just, everything's coming well. So.
And I'm an Army veteran.
And you're an Army veteran, yes, sir. So everything's coming along very well. Just wanted to give you an update on everything, see if you had any questions for us, give you a name to the face, so face of the name. I think everybody knows Mr. Harris, so.
Good job.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, item 1.11, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to approve or deny date holds for the Hill Country Youth Event Center to be used by the Elections Department for early elections in future years. Space needed and dates may vary based upon election cycles and voter turnout. Jake Williamson.
Good morning, Your Honor, Council. Wanted to bring this before the court today to make sure that if we go forward with something like this, that we have the dates held by court order. This would reflect similar things as the stock show, different events like 4-H, things like that. Because when elections moves in, they do need space, and they need to be able to be left set up and not have to tear down every night. They need to have access to those rooms. So
when they move in, they take over.
They take over. So I need to make sure that by court order, this would protect that, so that 4-H or any other groups, county functions, would fall below that. So this needs to be top priority if that happens. So, and the reason that we put approve or deny on that is simply because we know that other groups use the facility, and we want to make sure that the court understands the consequences of a decision and just makes that and tells us which way to operate. It was really all.
So is there any, anticipated conflicts that, would jump out?
I mean, we've, based on the space they've asked for, in the next couple of years, we didn't see anything we couldn't work around. Okay. For future years, it's something where we would probably, at least a year in advance, 2 years in advance, try to look at the schedules, see what's out there, and I would work to book around those days to protect them for elections. That might cause some revenue shortfalls in those times to protect those dates, but we think that's the best way to operate to make sure they do have space, because some of these elections do grow exponentially depending on what's on the docket, and we want to be flexible to them.
And what space is this that y'all?
Every space is up for rental. We've worked with them for the next couple of years. For the classrooms, one, we have the show barn because we have another event in the expo hall they're going to work around. But, the biggest one we want to probably protect is going to be the primaries, early elections in October. The last couple of weeks of October will probably become date conflicts, 2023 and beyond, if we don't protect these dates.
Well, I guess what I'm asking is what rooms are y'all utilizing, Bob, or requesting? I mean, what do y'all need?
Basically, we're taking what is available. We're willing to work with Jake around. At times it will be the office, the two offices, meeting rooms. At one time we even talked about, for one election, the west side hallway and the storeroom on the west side. As Jake mentioned, at one time, it'd even be in the show barn area, the new show barn. Simply, to be very honest, we don't know when the primary of 2022 will be.
Right.
And with that said, we've worked with Jake on quite a few what ifs, and if this happens, can we do this? He's been willing to work very much with us. Frankly, we need a building the size of the expo hall with the diversity that it has, where we can work around the primary, the runoffs, because just as we do not know when the primary will be, that also impacts when the runoffs in 2022 will be. And unfortunately, we may not know until around Thanksgiving when a primary may be, and it could go as late as mid-February before we'll know the primary dates. Am I correct, Ms. Alford?
That is correct.
Okay.
All right, I'll make a motion to phrase this right, to give the elections department priority use at the Hilton Youth Event Center and to coordinate the space needed with Spectrum Management.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion by Commissioner Lentz, second by Commissioner Below. I guess what we're really doing is, when we say prioritizing, we're telling Jake that anything that he books that would conflict with whenever they call the primary and the runoffs would be subject to election priority, right?
Correct.
Is
Or
that kind of what we're understanding here?
it'd be my understanding, the way I would probably factor that in is I would probably actually just block those dates off and make them unavailable.
Well, I mean, right now, we're all speculating that probably the primary is going to be in July. That's what, at least that's the rumor out there. We don't know for sure. And that would be a very busy time for the event center.
Correct. In July, without 4-H and the school in, a lot of our stuff's in the show barn. And we've, at least for the next couple of years, forecasted already what's on the books and looked at prior years that it is feasible. But moving forward in the future, I would like to pretty much, if we're going to give them priority, we're not going to try to have backups and holds. And that just, we would try to give people their dates for their private events.
But in terms of the court order that we're going to enter here, trying to figure out what's going to say. That we are prioritizing elections, and any youth event center bookings would be subject to called elections. Something to that effect? Is that what we're looking at?
Yes.
Okay. Any other discussion? I mean, this is something we have to do this. So.
Right.
I mean, it's not like we have a choice.
And some of this is due to y'all preferred the event center over the Caloo. Is that correct?
I feel we're not talking about moving any municipality elections.
Right.
This is only for primary and general election time, early voting.
And runoffs.
And runoffs. That we would like to move it, just simply parking space, the size, and what have you. Jake has been more than accommodating to help us in the past. After primary runoff of 22, we pretty well know the dates then, barring another instance like we went through last year. But however, with the primary, the November election, this would just suffice it better.
Bob, assume that the youth center with Agborn was not available. What other place in the entire county could we do this?
Of that size,
Yeah.
we're very limited.
Yeah.
Simply because of our building is ADA compliant.
Right.
It has ample enough spaces, parking, what have you. And it's also a very secure building with what we need.
Okay, good enough.
Any other discussion? Is there a second? Yeah, we got a motion in a second. Yes, ma'am?
We have one contract with Hill Country Junior District Livestock Show Association that I believe has dates in the contract that facility would be used during those dates. Do you think that this would interfere with that? Thought through this already?
To the best of my knowledge, the dates being the month of January and a full week at the end of September, I see no conflict with the lease that's in agreement with the association. But I'm not an attorney. So.
You love that disclaimer every time.
Yeah. I didn't use the rest of it yet.
Okay. Then those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 5-0.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Judge, can you specify who made the second?
Don Harris. Item 1.12, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action regarding an agreement to lease an area in the River Star Park Storage Building and adjacent area for communications tower to the Hill Country Amateur Radio Club. And I see them present.
Your Honor, I'm going to defer that over to Dale Barrier.
Okay.
Dale is a former president of our club many times over, and he's the de facto expert on antennas and towers.
Perfect.
And so he's probably the one to answer any questions you may have.
And really, this is a follow-up to the last time y'all appeared before us, right?
Yes, sir.
And we're talking about the location of the antenna and what all it's going to involve.
Yeah, there's two pieces. One is the use of the storage facility out there with a room, I think it's in there. And the second is...
That's the easy part.
Yeah, and the other one is the antenna, okay? Thanks.
All right, thank you all, and Judge Kelly, Commissioners, thank you very much for allowing me to speak to you today. On behalf of the Hill Country Amateur Radio Club, I'm pleased to be here to address any questions you might have concerning the communications tower we propose to locate at the site under discussion at the Riverstar Event Park. Now, based on the comments at the last Commissioner's Court, we propose to locate a freestanding, that's an unguided, communications tower whose height of the tower would be 38 feet with a 12-foot mast for a total height of 50 feet. As I said, the tower would require no guide wires. This way, it will not interfere with any public access to the area, and we feel would be quite appropriate to the area. We propose to locate it at the northwest corner of the building. You should have an outline of the site there that we did. And the location would allow us easy access to the tower and any antennas. And there, I will emphasize, and I think you saw this in the packet, there will be no cost to the county to install the tower and antennas. They will be fully paid for by our group. We will also maintain those antennas. And why 50 feet? 50 feet will height will allow us to provide effective emergency communications across a range of shortwave and VHF, UHF frequencies using appropriate antennas. This will allow us to better fulfill our mission to provide emergency communication support to the county when requested. So I will turn the discussion back over to the Honorable Court to answer any questions you may have concerning our proposal.
See, a couple of observations. Clay and some of you guys and Heather and I have talked about this over the last couple of weeks or so. This would be locating the antenna with the tower. The cost would be borne by Hill Country Amateur Radio Club. And approximately what does that cost to you guys?
Well, the cost of the tower itself will be approximately $2,000, and the installation fees will be about $1,500. It's mostly for digging a hole and pouring concrete.
Okay. One of the things that we talked about was the extent of the lease, okay, for this. And instead of having a standard one year automatic renewal, is to make the lease for at least 5 years, so that with the cost that you guys incur of erecting the tower and all, that would be more of your liking to do it that way. And I think that, I don't know if the county attorney has any comments on that. I think that we said it's probably up to the court to do something like that. And to reiterate what this is the 911 office said, this is just another layer of emergency communication. So it's a benefit. We don't see any really downside to this. Maybe the tower may be a concern for out there. Not sure.
I think the sheriff would agree that's just another tool for our tool chest as far as communications when things go awry like they did a couple months ago.
And we have successfully gone out with the Sheriff's Department on several occasions over the past several years on simulated emergencies, and have shown that we can communicate not only locally within the county, but back to Austin, down to San Antonio, and even outside of the region in the event of a Texas-size emergency.
My only question is and I think 5 years is probably fine, but the long-term viability of the county keeping that building. It has a life. It's not a permanent structure. We are making some upgrades to it right now, not upgrades, but some repairs under insurance. But we have no use for that facility. We've stored stuff in it sporadically, and it's at some point that building's probably going to be demolished to go away. But I don't think it'll be in the next 5 years. I don't see that we want to spend a bunch of money on something that we don't use.
Right.
So that's just, needs to be part of in the lease agreement. I think that, within 5 years is probably fine, but if we have any renewals to it, there is a life to that building. And
we don't use it for anything really right now.
We could take the automatic renewal language out of the lease so that if the court wanted to enter into another lease agreement, they'd have to come back to the court so that y'all can have that conversation at that time.
Our thought would be that after that initial 5-year, that it would be just renewable on a 1-year basis, if that's acceptable.
Yeah, that
I would
makes
say
sense.
so. As long as we have the building available.
Yeah, and there's something else. Most structures will last longer if they're occupied and somebody keeps an eye on them and they're maintained a little better, which I would assume would happen. My question is about the safety of the tower and what you're going to put on it to keep kids from climbing it.
Yes, sir, that's a very good question. The way we will address that, Commissioner Baloo, is that we will propose to put a fence around the base of the tower. The fence would be high enough to prevent people from getting over it with a lock on the gate. That would be the easiest and most viable way of protecting the...
With concertina wire and explosives, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Well, I've done it with just sheet metal. You go up about 10 feet with sheet metal.
Yes, sir, and there are actually sheet metal protectors you can put up too. It's just that, the putting up a fence is another option.
The best.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kids are kids.
Yeah.
Kids
So
are kids.
the club agrees with the lease. County attorney, the lease is okay with you?
I'll go in and change the term.
Okay.
So with those modifications to...
An automatic annual renewal.
And to make it a 5-year lease. It wasn't
Okay.
drafted that way. But I'll also include language about the availability of it if the structure is still...
So with those changes, I would move for approval for the lease with the Hill Country Amateur Radio Club and the county, and allow Judge to sign same.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Moser, seconded by Commissioner Baloo to approve the 5-year lease with the Hill Country Amateur Radio Club out at the River Star Park and antenna. And of course, the music to our ears were no cost to the county and no guy wires.
That's it.
So it's a no-brainer to me.
Yeah.
Good deal.
Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 5-0. We got one more item on that. That's item 113 before we take our morning break. And that's consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to permit the Hill Country Amateur Radio Club to use Union Church building once a month at no cost. Commissioner Moser.
Thank you, Judge. In the initial discussions with the Amateur Radio Club, looking for a place to have a monthly meeting for 3 hours, first Thursday, I believe, of each month. They have a very low operating budget, provide a service to the county, as we've had a lot of discussions on previously and here today. So we would have to have I think the policy, correct me if I'm wrong here, Jody, is it has, if it's not a 501c3, then we have to charge, with 501c3, it's half rental rate, but this will be a change to that. So I would move for approval to let the Hill Country Radio Club use Union Church first Thursday of each month from 6:30 to 9:30, and no charge to the club.
So the other facility is only going to be used for
The antenna
Equipment.
the equipment and for use of the equipment.
Yes, Commissioner Baloo, we will store our radio equipment there, and obviously, of course, the tower that you all have just graciously approved.
So that's the ops center, basically.
Yes, sir. We don't believe that we would be using that for club meetings or anything like that. We have over 100 members of our clubs, and we generally get somewhere upwards of 50 to 60 show up. At least that was pre-COVID. So we needed, we're bursting at the seams at our current location. We're at the location we had been using prior to COVID.
Just so everybody knows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And your policy permits the Commissioners Court to offer or to approve this at no charge.
Okay.
Is there a second to your motion?
So far not.
Second.
Okay.
Okay, motion's been made by Commissioner Moser, seconded by Commissioner Letts, to approve permitting the Hill Country Amateur Radio Club to use Union Church building once a month at no cost.
And just a notation, I know you say you're bursting at the seams now. Per fire code, the max in there is 100 people, so keeping that in mind, if you get too big, that we will have to.
Absolutely, yes.
Any other discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 5-0. Let's take a break. We're going to have a recess here. We'll come back at 10:15. Court, come back to order. We'll move on to our timed items. We have one at 9:50, which I apologize for the delay, but it's been a busy morning. Gotten a bunch done. This item 1.20, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to enter into an agreement with Jill Shackelford for consulting services for aggregate production operations in the community of Kerr County. And I see we've got Mike Russ here.
Yes, sir.
Would you like to address the court?
Yes, sir. My name is Mike Russ. I live on 471 Morton Road. I also have investment properties on the riverside at 474 Morton Road and 470. We also have renters as well. Recently, I'm not sure if everyone understands what's going on across the river from that location, but I'm here to say I found out that you're in the process of hiring Jill Shackelford. Is that correct? I'm not sure if it's
We're talking to her.
Excuse me?
We're talking to her.
Wonderful. So I'm just here on behalf of Wharton Road, Paso Creek, and other areas that's affected by the APOs and mining operations that's going on. Obviously, it's quite annoying, loud, dust. There's multiple things that everybody, it's pretty obvious what it can do to affect actual residents that live in. I've lived on Wharton Road all my life, and it's always been so peaceful. It's on the river. And then, these things come about. I understand that a lot of these mining operations are not allowed. I mean, their permits passed, there's a low percentage of people of them not getting the permits approved, let's put it that way. So, bringing her on to actually help residents and other ones that are being affected by it, and following the good practices of changing their beepers, the white noise beepers, managing what they can do, and actually being a mediator for them to follow these practices to help residents. At least the white noise beepers is a perfect example of just hearing beeping all day long. It's just constant beeping, or their machines running all day long. So it's if you live next to one, which we do now, I think you would understand. I'd love to invite you all to hear what it's we're dealing with all the time. So hiring her on, I totally support it. And I'm here on behalf of all Wharton Road and any other one that hasn't showed up here due to it's on Monday and everyone's at work. So I took off to I really do hope that y'all take her on and hire her for that, to help with these aggregate companies. West Texas Aggregates, the one that's behind by my river, or on the riverside, not my river, but you get what I'm saying. I like to call it my river.
I call it my river.
Yeah, right. So if anyone could imagine what we're going through right now, it's pretty horrific, being where we're at. But I beg you to please accept her and hire her on, and maybe they can help. I will say that I reached out to David Jensky with West Texas Aggregate last week, finally got a hold of him. I made multiple phone calls and texts to him. After the January 29th town hall meeting said they would become good neighbors. Never got a response back until I finally reached out to him and got him on the phone personally and talked to him. I pleaded with him to at least start by changing their tractor beepers, which is number one reason. Just imagine that beeping every day. And so a long discussion with him, and he was accepted. He said he was going to order those beepers and change those. So I think that if they're willing to work with us, I'm sure they'll work with Jill with her experience that I read her, the PDF that Tom sent me on her resume and stuff, and what she's been through. And she's also owns aggregate, so she knows quite a bit that it can affect other people. So I mean, property values, I'm sure all you get it. I'm sure you all get it, but I'm just here. Please bring her on. It'll definitely help, I think, and that's all I'm here for, really. Do you have any questions for me? I mean, about
Well, it's good for me to finally put a face with the emails. I appreciate you keeping us informed of what's going on out there.
Yeah, I get here and there, you know, I get my highs and my lows, you know what I mean, so.
But I would just reiterate, remind you that there's limited things that we can do regarding agro production.
Right.
And what we can do, we need to do. But the one thing that I think we can do, and I agree with you, is we can be in a mediation role to try to facilitate communications between the producers and the homeowners, the residents.
Sure.
And have some sort of ongoing dialogue. And what she was talking about was an advisory council. Whatever we do, on behalf of the county, what I'm interested in doing is trying to set up some sort of mechanism to keep the producers talking with the residents and to keep those lines of communication open, because it's tragic, but they do have the legal right to mine their property, and we understand that.
Right.
But at the same time, we need to balance it out as best we can.
Right.
And I really appreciate your dilemma, and I appreciate you coming down and being reasonable with us about this.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, and the discussion with him was I was surprised that he said he would order those, and obviously you still hear the rock crushing, but I mean, one step at a time is what I told him, and so.
Did y'all?
Go ahead. No.
Did y'all, when you were talking with him, did y'all discuss the possibility of Jill coming on board? Or
I never discussed that. I just pleaded with him as a homeowner, and
sure.
and I told him, I said, I understand you. I own a business. I'm self-employed. I own a business. I understand that you're here to make money, and that's what it's all about. I know roads need to be built, and it's just obvious. It's just, and I told him, you got to understand, if it happened that he lived on the river, or lives on the river, and he said, what would you do if this happened to you? You know what I mean? So he had a different perspective about it, but obviously, but it rocks your world when it happens to your piece. You live all your life. I fished there all my life on the river. Went up and down. It's just peaceful. And what got me the most is I have a 3-year-old daughter, and we're sitting in our little fishing spots, and they're running machines, and she asked him, Dad, what's that noise? You know what I mean? So it just like, it sucks. I'm gonna tell you that straight up. It's just horrible. But hiring her on, maybe get some mediation here, and maybe they can make some changes. And like I said, a little bit helps. Once he changes the beepers, that's a little bit. That's what I told him, just a little bit. And he told me to order them. So, and that's just me calling them. So.
Well, and as you know, when you start screaming at people, and let's face it, this is very annoying. It is a nuisance. But when you scream at them, a lot of times people just dig in and exercise their rights.
Right, and they retaliate.
And this is not about their rights. We understand what their rights are. They have private ownership rights. But at the same time, we have a county to run and residential communities out there that we need to balance what's going on as best we can within the law.
And I think just for other precincts and stuff, and actually hiring her on, and we got a grip on things with them, and they, I think Mark Marietta's done pretty well with the last meeting that y'all had from, where their newest facility is, and then they're bringing all their stuff to the Southern Lane facility to crush the rock, I believe. I think they've done that, but. The rock crusher's right there, so.
Well, and I want to be clear to the public that we're not talking about hiring Jill Shackelford on.
Okay.
We're talking about retaining her as a consultant to help us get this advisory council set up. This is not a permanent position. This is not a new hire.
No.
I'm not going to into my budget today, I got to tell you.
No,
but
I got you.
What we are looking for is some professional help on the best way to do this, and somebody that has the experience of being an owner-operator as well.
Sure.
Because she has credibility with the operators that we might not have.
Right.
And what I'm hoping the county will be is a little bit like the old Teddy Roosevelt bully pulpit. We have a pulpit here. We have a say. We have to follow the law, but we do have a say. And we're trying to bring everybody to the table, and let's work through these problems as best we can.
Sure. Yeah. And I'm sorry if I,
No. I just want to. I don't want any misconceptions.
Say bring her on. I just.
No.
Yeah. And I've never met her, by the way. I've just read her resume, and I'm not here, just to.
Well,
I'm here for myself.
She's pretty impressive.
Yeah. So, I just hopefully we can work something out with her and
Well, Judge, we had the January 29th town hall meeting. I think that was the third or fourth town hall meeting we've had on aggregate production. It was, it was okay. It was an agreement, neighbor to neighbor, try to work, be good neighbors. Things have not gone as well, okay, since then as they could have, and it's no one's fault. It's just, different objectives. And we had Jill come in last Monday to talk about her experience. And I think you mentioned to Judge, the thing that makes it unique with Jill Shackelford is she owned and operated quarries, okay?
I think she still does.
She still does. Well, she's still in the business. She's consulting now. She's learned how to, or let me say it differently. She's been very effective of bridging the gap between the aggregate owner operator and the community. And with her experience, and I think looking at both sides, she's been recognized for what she's accomplished in doing that by various organizations, various cities. She's realized as a quote expert and testified in this last legislative session on best management practices. So what her approach is, and in the draft lease that we have, that the county attorney and I've worked with Jill on over the past week or so, is what Jill is proposing is to, if we agree to bring her on as a consultant, first thing she'd do is talk with the neighbors, okay, individually. Meet with Mike Russ and some of his neighbors, meet with each one of the 3 primary and any other aggregate operators we have in the county, but primarily with Martin Marietta, West Texas Aggregate, and Wheatcraft, okay, to explain what the issues are, what she's done, what the things that they've been able to do to make it a better environment for the neighbors and the operators. And like Mike says, if they could change from the beeping to a white sound or a duck sound on their equipment, that would help. Then she would come back, if we agree to bring her on as a consultant, come back to the court then and tell what the next step would be, which probably would be to recommend setting up an advisory council, which has been very effective. And I think she said last Monday that there hasn't been anything but good things come out of advisory councils. If we so choose to do that, and then we'd have to work out who would be on the advisory council. I think she mentioned like maybe 10 people, something like that, to keep it down to size. And if we decide to do that, which would be another action by the court, set an advisory council, we'd be the first county in the state to have established the advisory council, which would be noteworthy. I think it'd be a move in the right direction. So the whole objective to do this is to better communication between the community and the aggregate producers, okay? The downside, I see a lot of upside to it. The downside is $8,500 for a consulting agreement, which would.
Well, that's just the max, though.
Yeah.
It's $250 an hour.
Yeah, and that's the 800 not to exceed that is part of the lease agreement. And she would have at least 2 visits to the county. She lives in Austin, so she would come over and do that and consult with us. So that's the background on that. So,
well, I agree that it'd be worthwhile to do this. I'm just not agreeing that the county needs to fund it. We have no oversight. I think this ought to come, her fee ought to come from the operators that she works with, and but not the county.
Well, it's okay.
That's an expense that I don't think we need to do. Maybe it's a reason that other counties haven't done it across the state.
Well, I understand your position, but as a recovering attorney, I'm going to tell you, whoever pays you is who you represent. And what we're trying to do here is to have somebody that's in between the operators and our citizens. And with her credibility in the industry as an owner-operator, as an advocate, as someone who has developed these best management practices that knows how to sell them to these operators and get them to agree to it, I'm willing to spend a little bit of money to try to help our citizens have a seat at the table, because right now they don't. And Mike, I appreciate all of your emails, but you got a keypad that you key in, you stroke into and send me emails, and that's the only voice that you really have. And you finally got a hold of somebody at West Texas Aggregates, and you got something done. Yeah. What I'm talking to is trying to formalize this process so that the people have a place to go when they have problems.
I think even just, I mean, if it doesn't work out as far as bringing her on, you know, as far as funding and whatnot, I mean, you know, some kind of support between you guys, just have another, you know, mediation between just the operator and them. But it doesn't just, it's not only affecting just us. You got to realize it could help a lot of other people that's being affected as well, not just West Texas Aggregate. But, and I understand what you're saying as far as funding and stuff, but you know, making a phone call or two. Tom's been great about it, and then just trying to get us together has been kind of rough, because there's been a lot of complaints to the TCEQ, which is causing the retaliation you're talking about, not changing really anything. I'm not going to, you know, you just have those, when you have a discussion like I had with him, it was kind of standoffish at first, and then I was like, look, I'm just pleading with you. I'm not here to threaten to sue you or do this or that. I'm just asking, just can you do one thing to show me that you can have some kind of support for us? And I can tell you that I was a mediator for over 30 years with the American Arbitration Association and privately. And there's a difference when you sit down to let people air their grievances and talk about what best management practices are and clear that air so that you can move forward and not just get locked into into a gridlock. And TCEQ, you know, they got a job to do, and they're going to follow the law. And more times than not, they're probably not going to do what the homeowners would like to have addressed, or not. They're not going to address it. They're going to do what they got to do. They got a mandate. And what I'm looking to do is to set up some sort of forum for the residents, for the taxpayers, to be able to sit down and visit with these corporate giants.
Well, this is one step beyond town hall. If we establish this advisory council, I think that sets it up one level above a town hall meeting, which is pretty informal, and I think it would be a great thing to do.
And if we're going to be the first county in the state of Texas to do this, let's do it, and let's do it right. Let's set one up, and let's be a model. We've got a PDO, a 5-county public defender's office out there right now that is the model of the state. People are calling from all over the state, trying to find out about what we're doing with our public defender's office. And so if we're going to do this with aggregates, let's step out and do it right. This is not that much money, $250 an hour to get it set up. But once we get it set up, we're not going to need her services.
But is it the thing to do, and is there any precedent for this? We had, at your behest, we met with people about the animals at the animal shelter, and something got done.
Right.
Met with the volunteer fire departments, something got done. That didn't cost us anything. And things were hashed out, worked out. Commissioner Harris's point is well taken. We're putting money into this and then saying we're going to have somebody come in and arbitrate, whereas this court has taken on other issues like this and gotten everybody at the table together, worked out some compromises, and even found out some things in the case of the volunteer fire departments that where we were vulnerable and exposed, and got that taken care of. I don't know why that same process couldn't be used for this and not set a standard or a precedent of coming in and basically being somebody's legal sugar daddy.
Well, let me comment. She is, I don't think we need to recreate the wheel. She's done it. She's proven to be very effective with setting up the communications between the two parties. Let me just call it the two parties. If you get down to what Mike and the community are dealing with, number one, noise. TCEQ has no requirement on noise. So therefore, Mike can go hire a lawyer, okay, and he can sue. And that's the only thing that they can do. TCQ doesn't have anything to do with it. State doesn't have anything to do with it. If you stay below 85 dB continuous, okay? So that's one approach. The other thing is Mike and his neighbors or whatever, if they don't like the equipment location, or if they think there's too much air particulate coming over, he or somebody can call TCQ. TCU comes out, they shut down the operator. So now all of a sudden you have a more, like the judge says, you have, now you've interfered with my operation, I'm going to take a hard line. So what I think this does for, I think $8,500 or $250 an hour is a very, very good investment, okay, to improve communication and to have the opportunity to have a more compatible neighborhood, okay? And I think she's proven she can do it, okay? She's done it. I don't think town hall meetings have worked in the past. I think we need to go one step beyond that. Have somebody come in that can talk to both sides and see if we can't.
Well, how do you go one step beyond something that works?
Well, because town hall meeting right now didn't work, January 29th, okay? It worked with 3 other town hall meetings. The one on 29th worked to some extent, okay? But it's not working to the extent that it should. So when we found out about Jill, we said, there's another way to take it and move forward. So
Why do you think this last one didn't work?
I think Mike want to comment. I think it got into, as the judge said a while ago, a little bit of you're interfering with me and taking a hard position and raising voices and so forth. The other side saying, look, I know what I'm doing. I've got an environmental consultant and I'm not going to deviate from what I'm doing. You can't make me do it. So it's gotten into that. So I think with somebody like Jill that can talk to the operator and relate to them, because she's done it, and also communicate with the citizens about what they can do. And so it may not work. I would, if I were betting man, I'd give you big odds it would work. Okay.
Well,
we're talking about up to $8,500.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we do that and we cross our fingers that the other side comes to the table.
Yeah.
There's no guarantee they will.
No guarantee. No whatsoever.
I would say, just a simple phone call from me to him and just pleading with him, and obviously I'll see this week if he has ordered those in the BB squad. That's actually that step further that actually kind of gives you a little reassurance that maybe they will have another operator that's has that background to say, look. And I told him, he said, well, I get a call from TCQ every time, and then I have to shut down. It costs me money. I said, I understand. You got to understand this: if you take a little steps here and there, those calls will probably start, quit coming in, and you get TCEQ off your back because you're not drawing so much attention to yourself. Because you got residents that's lived all their life on this whole road. A lot of them are my family too, and then also people off the, outside that, and people that are totally against it. Paso Creek's, affected by it. Martin Marietta and Comanche Trace was affected by it because you go up in Comanche Trace and you can just see the landscape and the beautiful hill country getting destroyed. So, and them having to put it, I don't know if they ever put it back to normal like they say they would, but the point is, I said, I think that one phone call, was that step further, and I think it would, kind of gives you a little more. Just think of it if it happened in your yard, in your backyard or whatever. You just got to put yourself in my shoes, and would the $8,500 be worth it to you?
Well, is it worth it to you?
Absolutely. If I had the money, I would pay it myself.
Okay. And you and your neighbor, because what I'm thinking is that it should be paid by the people affected. If the county steps in and starts doing this stuff when there's a quibble with somebody,
I understand.
Then it starts to set up. And I'm entirely sympathetic with you, Mike. I've seen it, I've heard it, I have friends that they hear the noise all day long. I get it. Your initiative, when you call and you got a response and you got a positive response and a promise, which you don't know if they're going to carry through on, but we hope they will. That's really good. That's how it should work.
Right, and I mean, even like one meeting probably, and see like with her, because I don't know anything other than reading up on TRAM or just the different things that the good management practices that they should obey by. Obviously, hopefully they'll create a bill that will make them do things like that. But right now, it's just go at it. It's your property. Do what you want. Who cares about anybody else? But I understand what you're saying, coming from too. And, I'm just here to support. Bringing her on. On behalf of everyone else, I'm just here for all of them. I wish I could bring them all here. There would be a lot of people here.
I want to propose something, and it's this. You guys see if you like this. That we have another town hall the way we have, but that she's at this town hall. You pay her for one meeting or whatever, bring her in and see if that has some impact. We've done it ourselves, this court has, in a couple of other cases.
I'm fine with that.
I'd be on board.
If you think back to the examples you gave, we do have an Animal Services Advisory Committee that meets regularly. For the volunteer fire departments, we have Kerrville. They meet regularly. We have an organization. We have something that communicates back and forth so that we can address concerns. And at the very least, I would like to see us do some sort of advisory council to be able to be the go-between between the homeowners and the producers. And if we pay her to come get it organized, I don't know how much that would be, but I think it's pretty de minimis. And I would recommend that we do that. Try to stop the standoff that we have, because my perception is that where we are right now is people dug their heels in that they got their rights and they're not going to do anything. And I want to nudge them off high center and say, listen to us.
We have a couple of choices. We can either facilitate something or they all end up in court. And while that's none of our business really, because TCEQ regulates all of this stuff and we don't, as was pointed out earlier, we don't have any real say-so in it.
But
we do a compromise.
I agree. And I would like to see the homeowners work with somebody to put together recommended best management practices, these BMPs, and try to get these corporations to buy into what is the best way to do this stuff and balance out everybody's concerns.
Well, let's see, on best management practices, we passed a resolution a month or so ago.
We did.
And we're to join, become an affiliate, an ally, I think is what the term is, with TRAM. So we've done that. I don't know that Jill is pretty busy, okay, with her. She goes all over the state doing this kind of stuff. She's ready to start tomorrow. If we agree with this, give her a consulting agreement. I don't know when she would come here, how effective that would be to come to another town hall meeting. I've called for and chaired every one of the single town hall meetings we've had. Nobody else has done one. Okay, I think they've been effective. I can clearly see, the only downside I can see is a consulting agreement up to $8,500, which I think for somebody like Mike, okay, there's another thing. We've talked about noise. Okay, Mike can file suit. Okay, and he can pursue it that way. It's the only thing. It's the only recourse he's got. Nobody's gonna do it. If dust is coming over covering his car, which he's got evidence of, one thing in talking with Jill, she said, what the operator could do, he needs to put in more spray facilities. Okay, now we can make him put in more spray facilities, or we can't, but TCEQ can. Okay, and he'd probably put in, if you push him, maybe only what he needs to do. Then Mike has bought monitoring equipment to monitor the air. TCEQ says, we don't know about your equipment. We got to bring out our own sample measuring devices. We got to take it back and analyze it, because it may not be coming from West Texas area. So we've got to go analyze their soil to see if it's the same as the soil that's on the air. So it goes on and on and on. Right. Okay, so you can get those things to stand off. In the meantime, Mike and his neighbors and his 3-year-old kids and things like that are putting up with this every day. If it can start tomorrow, okay, which is what's proposed here, I'm all for it. And I'm gonna make a motion right now that we agree to, with the lease agreement, consulting agreement, excuse me, with Jill Shackelford, per the consulting agreement that she's laid out, the county attorney's looked at. I think the county attorney agrees with the consulting agreement, maybe some format changes. So I'll make a motion that we do that. We enter into an agreement with Jill Shackelford, provide consulting services to Kerr County, beginning on effective today, and authorize the judge to sign the same.
I haven't seen an agreement.
It's in the,
It's not in my backup.
It's this thing right here.
yeah.
Is this that one page?
No,
Well, and
I
it has pricing in the second page.
it should have been,
That's all we have in here.
okay. No, we've got the draft agreement. I thought it got in everybody's package.
I don't have it.
What's in your bins? I don't know if you.
Yeah.
It's there.
Okay.
There it is.
I added some to her, her document, and then she added some more, and I couldn't get the formatting to work, so if she can take care of
Format.
cleaning it up that way.
Yeah, I think everybody got a copy of it. Yeah, I got it.
I'll go ahead and second your motion so that we can present the issue.
Okay.
The motion's been made by Commissioner Moser, which I've seconded, to enter into a consulting agreement with Jill Shackelford to help form an advisory council for Kerr County with our aggregate producers.
And come here and consult with the neighbors and producers.
And as we discuss this,
Right.
I don't think we ought to try a town hall meeting again. And let me just tell you why. I think we ought to have a workshop. I think we ought to do something. But just like the meeting that you're having this Wednesday, I'm out of town. I've had this scheduled for months. And I'm not going to be able to make it, which I would like to make, but I can't.
Mhm.
And I couldn't make the one that you had back in January. I think that was my daughter's birthday that day. But in any event, I think that what we ought to do is to set up a workshop so that we can actually post an agenda.
Sure.
And if a quorum shows up, we're legal, and if quorum doesn't show up, we can just go ahead with it. But I would really like to sit down with her and let her know that what we're focused on here is not so much wanting to have a long-standing agreement. What we want is for her to counsel us on how to set up an advisory council, because we need some sort of intermediary organization. And she is best suited to do it at this point. We don't have anybody else that's prepared to do that.
The duration of this agreement would be like for about a month.
What-
Yeah. So we could, part of the agreement is she comes back and consults with the court, okay, on how to proceed. That could be the workshop, okay? After she's gone around, talked to these people, come back to the workshop, say, here's what I found, here's what I agreed to, here are the issues, here's what I'd recommend on forming advisory council. And so that'd be a workshop agenda, and then we would decide, then go into, if we want to have an advisory council, and we take action to do that at a later meeting.
So, we've discussed and cussed this enough. Is there anything else we want to say before we take a vote?
Yeah, my problem is, it's a pretty vague agreement for $8,500. I mean, it doesn't say she's doing much.
Right.
I mean,
What is there to,
well, she's gonna visit for $8,500, she's gonna visit the area and then give her opinion.
No, she's
It doesn't
not
say
coming.
who she's meeting with. It doesn't say she's gonna come back here and meet with the court. It just says she's gonna visit the area.
There's no,
and it's a flat rate, $8,500.
No,
plus-
$250.
No, it's up
Plus-
to $8,500.
Yeah, up to.
Not to exceed.
Yeah.
Not to exceed.
there's no
No,
guarantee
that's
the
not what it
operator
says.
will even visit with her.
It says it's $8,500 plus $250
Yes,
an
it's
hour.
plus.
Oh, okay.
Travel.
No, if there's beyond, she'll come here on 2 occasions, 2 trips from Austin here to meet with the operators, the citizens, meet with the city, the county, group to advise how to move forward to the next step, okay? That's basically what it amounts to, okay? Then help set up an advisory council with guidance and recommendations on how to do that.
I just think it's
And,
great.
and it's taking,
Right.
it's taking the work, I mean, she came here last Monday, and we went through an hour and a half of discussion of that, which was, you know, I think she had described during that workshop exactly what she was gonna do.
But it's not in the agreement's my problem.
Right. It's, well, that's how I formed my opinion, was from the workshop.
Right.
I mean, I guess I would like to see deliverables, for this kind of money.
Well, I'll change my motion then to agree to approve a consulting agreement with delineation, improved delineation on the deliverables.
My preference is to bring it back to the next meeting
Okay.
with the scope of work clearly outlined of what it is and a not to exceed language in
Okay,
it.
we'll do that, and then we'll see when she'd be able to start. Okay, so if she's able to start tomorrow, now, I don't know when she'll be able to come back. So,
Yeah.
Mike, we may have.
Hey,
to
I understand it's you know, let's a start. You know, if you can get some more information and make you feel more comfortable about it, they're not going anywhere. I mean, they're still running it, and hopefully at least the tractor noise or beeping noise is, he's going to follow through with that, and I'll let you guys know. But
good.
I'm just playing with you guys, and I understand, I get it. It's a proposal, and
I support doing it, and I'd vote for it, but I'd just like to see exactly what we're gonna get, more outline. And on the other question about, we pay consultants a lot. So that argument to me doesn't hold a lot of water. We have Peter Lewis on a contract to advise us about architects we have. We're getting ready to hire, we have outside attorneys all over the place that advise us on stuff, so we hire a lot of consultants.
But this is an intermediary capacity, and that's a little different. This is somebody that's trying to make peace with everyone. And that's a whole different thing. And I don't know that it sets a good precedent, but I do agree with you that it's $8,500 retainer and then $250 an hour thereafter.
It's not a retainer, it's performance.
It's
Performance.
$8,500 up front with 2 visits promised here and then $250 an hour after that. That's
No,
a retainer.
if needed. That'd be us to say if we need it.
I'd rather have I want to know exactly what she's gonna do, and then I'm gonna pay for it.
Clear scope
think.
of work, is that the request you'd like for me to get from her, a clear scope of work?
Yeah.
So, I'd like to hear her reach out to the operator, see if they're even gonna talk.
I'm glad you brought that up. I've notified each one of the operators that we were considering entering into a consulting agreement.
We had some
So it's,
here.
no, we had one here.
Martin Marietta.
Yeah, that was
Okay,
one.
then just one.
Okay, I notified the others, just so they wouldn't get blindsided.
Sure.
And they didn't interpret something and we were trying to ram something down their throat. So, and I've talked to Adam Jinsky, who operates West Acre Aggregate, and talked to him for 30 minutes on that. He was concerned about it. Then he said, "Oh, good. I think that's a good idea." So,
Didn't talk to David, Jerry Wheatcraft.
I sent a note to him. He didn't respond.
Was the presiding officer, I need to know, we've got a motion, and I don't know if that motion has been amended yet or not, or if we're gonna pass the motion, but we need to do something. We either need to clarify where we are with this, we either take a vote, or we pass to next time, or we.
The motion was to enter into a lease agreement with Jill Shackford as delineated or as outlined in your backup, with the modification to delineate the deliverables.
Okay.
That's the motion.
That's the motion. Any other discussion? Those are. I'm gonna let Commissioner Moser make his motion. So I'll second it. I agree with the revision, but we need to get a thumbs up, thumbs down on this thing. Those in favor, raise your hand. 2. Those against? 3. 3 to
Please
vote.
then bring it back with a new contract.
Yeah.
And I'll vote for it, probably.
Now you'll have a
Maybe we'll have a
foundation.
special session.
We'll bring it back.
We're not giving up.
All right, just let me know. Thanks.
Thanks,
Appreciate it.
Mike.
Have a wonderful day.
Okay, we've got a series of timed items at 10 o'clock that we're going to start with now. First one is 1.21, consider discussion take appropriate action for the court to consent to an annexation request of 5.556 acres and relinquishing maintenance for a portion of Lehman Drive into the city of Kerrville. Charlie Hastings.
Thank you, Judge. Overland Property Group is proposing an affordable housing development near 160 to 170 Lehman Drive, which is adjacent to the city of Kerrville. In order to access water and sewer utilities, they are requesting annexation into the city of Kerrville. They have asked for a document that shows Kerr County is comfortable and in agreement with this request. The county engineer requests the court consent to an annexation request of 5.556 acres and relinquishing maintenance of a portion of Lehman Drive into the city of Kerrville, Precinct 1.
I move for approval.
Second.
The motion's been made by Commissioner Ballou, seconded by Commissioner Harris to approve and consent to an annexation request of 5.556 acres and relinquishing maintenance of a portion of Lehman Drive. Any other discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 5-0. Item 1.22, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action for the court to provide input for a concept plan for 78.95 acres between Bear Creek Scout Road and Cedar Cliff Loop in Hunt, Texas. Charlie Hastings.
Thank you. The owner-developer, Rebecca Key, has a proposed total acres of 78.95 acres. Proposed number of lots is 7. The smallest lot size will be 5.01 acres. These lots will all have their own private wells, their own septic systems. Their floodplain, there is some floodplain zone A on the property. There's no proposed roads. This concept plan proposes subdividing that acreage that's between Bear Creek Scout Road and Cedar Cliff Loop into 7 lots with a small tract for river access. That small tract will have notes on the plat that says it can't be used for residential purposes. It's too small. It's just simply, it's on the other side of FM 1341, or 1340, I'm sorry, I get those confused. And it will remain over there and be used as a park. Access to the proposed lots will be from Bear Creek Scout Road and Cedar Cliff Loop. A portion of the property is in the floodplain. Like I mentioned, it must meet the requirements for development within the floodplain. There's a request, a preference for the name of this subdivision to be Estates at Bear Creek. I've had discussions with the developer over that because we have a number of subdivisions and roads that already use the Bear Creek name, and I didn't want to cause any further confusion. This is a concept plan at this point, so we're asking, the county engineer is requesting for the court to provide input for this concept plan between Bear Creek Scout Road and Cedar Cliff Loop in Hunt, Texas. It is Precinct 4. I'll open it up for your input.
Do we have any say over what they call it?
Yes. Yes. The name of the subdivision has to be checked by the county clerk to see if there's any other subdivisions with that name.
Okay.
Dealing with 911 and other issues.
But if there's,
Yes.
911 doesn't go by
Well,
subdivisions.
no,
But they do go by street names, and
Right.
if you say I'm at Bear Creek because you live at the estates at Bear Creek, that could cause some confusion up front.
Okay, I see. Okay.
They can have it
Yeah.
changed.
But there's no, in the concept plan, there's no, say that again about no roads shown on this concept plan?
Oh, all the roads that surround the subdivision are existing.
Oh, I see, gotcha.
There will need to be some right-of-way dedication, and we'll work that out through the plating process once we get a
Okay.
survey back from their surveyor. I think Charlie Dominguez is going to do the surveys, but again, at this point, according to our subdivision regulations, at the concept plan level, you meet with the commissioner and the subdivision administrator, and if either one of us wants to bring it to the court to get the court's input, then we do, and that's what we're here today for, is to get your input.
So these are 5 acre or greater
Yes, sir.
lots? So water availability, they don't have to do anything to show water availability?
That's
Is there
correct.
any plan to do that?
that would be a question for the developer. So, the developer is here.
Yeah.
No, sir, we were just going to have wells drilled, or whoever purchases would be drilling wells for each lot.
Yeah, well, the reason I asked that is because the one we talked about at Verde Creek Ranch, that's 5 acres or greater too,
Right.
but they're going to drill a well to demonstrate water availability. Because as the developer said, you know, he's not gonna propose something like that when there's not sufficient water available. Okay, so I was just curious, but there's no plan to do that in this
No, sir.
development.
No, sir, and we don't have any reason to think that there isn't water available out in that area. There's several homes with wells in that area that are producing.
Yeah, I think in this other one too, they're going to even let the water availability demonstration well then be a monitor well for headwater, groundwater, which is an important thing to do. So anyway, but you're saying no,
No.
not going to do it. Okay.
But that's a big outfit. That's over 1,000 acres.
It's decided they're required to.
Yeah, this is
This
small.
is not,
Next to
because of the size.
Well,
Scout camp.
what Commissioner Moser's saying, the one on Verde Creek off of 480, they're not required to.
They're not
They have
required
chosen
at all.
to on their own,
Right.
but they're in that
given.
center point area that has known issues for water availability. Hunt, as far as I know, I've not heard of any water availability issues in the Hunt area. The density is
Yeah.
not there.
Yeah. Okay.
You may have to drill a deep well, but the density's not there.
It's pretty high elevation where you're talking about, isn't it?
Yes, sir. It goes up to almost 2,000 feet.
That's what I was thinking about when they were sitting there talking about drilling wells.
Yeah. Probably gonna be between 650, and it'll be a deep Trinity well, unless they can hit, they may be able to hit the Edwards out there. It just depends.
Some places you can.
One of the things that we did want to discuss, this is a real sticking point for the developers. They really, really like the name Estates at Bear Creek, and I really am against it because of existing subdivisions, and we have streets named Bear Creek that are in Precinct 3 and in Precinct 4 and maybe even a little bit in Precinct 1 already. And so I said, please don't use that name. She does have an alternate name she came up with, Shadow Bluff. But this was, she really wants to hear from the court either a yay or a nay on proceeding with that subdivision name, which I don't think we can by our rules, but the court has the final say.
Shadow Bluff sounds good.
You like that better?
Yeah.
I do have letters from 911 with addresses for each of the lots already, and they'll either be, you know, a Cedar Cliff 911 address or a Bear Creek Scout Reservation Road address. So if someone does call 911 and they're on Bear Creek Scout Road, that's how they will be identified. But
It is confusing when we have a lot of subdivisions and things using the same name or similar names. My preference would be to
Chapter
go
by
with
the
their
Scout
alternate name.
Reservation, Bear Creek.
Commissioner Harris, would you like for me to read into the record that email that we received?
It wouldn't hurt. I think.
Okay. This is from Ken Lamb. Greetings, gentlemen. I am unable to attend Monday's meeting at the Commissioner's Court, but have 2 comments on the proposed development along Bear Creek Scout Road, item 1.22. That's what we're on now. Having lived on this road for almost 25 years, the 90-degree curve in the road at proposed lot number 5 can be treacherous. I hope the developer will be asked to put setbacks and restrictions on lot 5 to maintain a line of sight for road traffic through there. There have been quite a few accidents there over the years. I can address that right away by saying there's going to need to be right-of-way dedicated along Bear Creek Scout Road. We measured it, I think it was 40 feet, and they're going to need to dedicate their fair share of 60, which would be 10.
We were out there last week and
Yes.
looked at it, discussed that.
Secondly, the Kahn Family Cemetery is located very near the intersections of lots 1, 2, and 6. Graves here date back to 1900. It is also the resting place of Randolph Davis. Young Mr. Davis died serving our country in World War I. The Kahn family, along with the Bensons, were the first settlers in this area. I would ask that the developer work with the Kerr County Historical Commission to protect and respect this part of our history. Thank you for your time, Ken Lamb, 125 Bear Creek Scout Road, Hunt, Texas. And I was told, and it's not shown on the concept plan, but in one of our concept plan meetings, the developer shared with us preliminary survey that was done by Charles Dominguez, and it does show that cemetery area. The concept plan, it's a concept plan, it doesn't show it yet, but it should be somewhere on lot 1. Did we say lot 1 or 2? We were looking at it this morning. I think it's on lot 2, but that will be reflected and preserved for sure as part of the planning process. So we believe both of those issues will be addressed during the planning and the engineering design process.
What else we need to do?
If there's no more input from the court, we can go to item 1.23.
Well, we need to take action, don't we?
The only action would be to provide input. And if you have none, then there's no action to take.
Then I'll call 1.23, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action for the court to approve a final plat for Miles Acres. Charlie Hastings.
Thank you. This proposal creates 4 lots with frontage along Ranchero Road and Calcutt Road. It dedicates 0.55 acres as right-of-way on Ranchero Road. Lot 1 will be 5.63 acres and is partially within Kerrville's ETJ. Lots 2, 3, and 4 will be 2.0 acres each and are outside Kerrville's ETJ. And the county engineer requests the court approve a final plat for Miles Acres, deed file number 220-08593, precinct 2.
The water is provided by?
The water is provided by Aqua Texas.
Okay. Move for approval.
Second.
Motion is made by Commissioner Moser, seconded by Commissioner Blue to approve the final plat for Miles Acres. Any discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. 5-0, unanimous. 1.24, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action for the court to approve an amending plat for the estates at Turtle Creek Sections 2, lots 27R and 28R.
This plat was revised and approved on February 8th, 2021. It was a revision of plat. We just had it go through our court. However, the owners wish to show an increased front building setback line on the plat. I think that's a deed restriction that was missed. So this proposed amendment only changes the front building setback line from 50 feet to 75. Lot 27R currently has 128.67 feet of road frontage, which was not a problem for us in February. That was approved. County engineer requests the court approve an amending plat for estates at Turtle Creek, Section 2, lots 27R and 28R, file plat number 21-01235, precinct 2.
Move for approval.
Second. Motion is made by Commissioner Moser, seconded by Commissioner Letts to approve the amending plat for the estates of Turtle Creek, Sections 2, lots 27R and 28R. Any discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 5-0. 1.25, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action for the court to set a public hearing for 10 a.m. on June 14 for a revision of plat for estates at Turtle Creek, Section 2, lots 39 and 40. Troy Hastings.
This proposal adjusts the lot line between lot 39, it's currently 3.27 acres, and lot 40, currently 2.71 acres. Lot 39R will be 3.11 acres, and lot 40R will be 2.87 acres. Property access and road frontage to both lots will remain on Estates Drive. Lot 39 currently has 51.9 feet of frontage on the cul-de-sac and will now have 51.3. We require 60, but the court can allow something less. So that's very, very close to 60. County engineer requests the court set a public hearing for 10 a.m. on June 14, 2021 for a revision of plat for estates at Turtle Creek, Section 2, lots 39 and 40, Volume 6, page 241, Precinct 2.
So just for clarification, we have to have a public hearing just for this change?
Yes, sir, we do.
Okay, move for approval.
Second.
Motion has been made by Commissioner Moser, seconded by Commissioner Letts to set a public hearing for 10 a.m. on June 14th for a revision of plat for estates at Turtle Creek, Section 2, lots 39 and 40. Any discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 5-0. Item 1.26, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action for the court to set a public hearing for 10 a.m. on June 14, 2021 for a revision of plat for River Dance Ranch, Lot 2. Charlie Hastings.
Thank you. River Dance Ranch is a recent subdivision. It was done in 2020. This proposal revises and enlarges Lot 2. It's currently 5.01 acres by adding a portion of an adjacent unplatted tract. The property access and road frontage will remain on Highway 39. This property is in the floodplain and must meet requirements for development in the floodplain. The county engineer requests the court set a public hearing for 10 a.m. on June 14, 2021 for a revision of plat for River Dance Ranch Lot 2, plat file number 20-08922, Precinct 4.
I move for approval. Second.
Okay, motion's been made by Commissioner Harris, seconded by Commissioner Baloo to set a public hearing for 10 a.m. on June the 14th, 2021 for revision of plat for River Dance Ranch Lot 2. Any discussion?
What was the purpose of that lot originally, Charlie?
Originally, when they created the lots on the south side of FM 13, are we on 39 or FM 1340? We're on 39 now. Okay, so in the Hunt area, 39. The south side, they created those lots, and the remainder of what they didn't plat was on the north side of 39, and kept access across the road, didn't dedicate right away down to the river. Now what they've done is now they're ready to plat the north side. You don't have that before you right now, but it is in my office to plat the north side, and people have sold and bought lots, and that lot to number 2 said, man, if I could just get a little bit bigger lot from that part that had not been platted previously, that would be great. And the plat that we will be receiving in the next few weeks that completes all this is the missing piece of the puzzle. They'll dedicate right-of-way for Highway 39 to the state, and everything will be good after that.
Deal.
But it was for river access.
I remember looking at this, as I recall now.
It's been several months.
Everything will be good after that.
That's right. You can take that to the
I want to make sure I heard that right.
I'll state it again.
Okay.
Everything will be good after that.
Okay.
Okay.
Give me a few weeks.
Any other discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 5-0. Item 1.27, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action for the court to set a public hearing for 10 a.m. on June 14, 2021 for a revision of plat for Kerrville Country Estates, Section 2, Lot 37.
This proposal divides Lot 37, currently 11.62 acres, into 2 lots. Lot 37A will be 5.82 acres and have access from Solar Hill. Now, this is interesting. Solar Hill was abandoned by the court, and that court order will be noted on the plat. It's not in what you have now, but that's one of my comments to the surveyor. Since it was abandoned, it is now private, and any gate or fence or any encroachments that are across it are allowable, which they have. That was another comment I made, but we were able to determine in the 90s this legitimately went to the Commissioner's Court, and they abandoned Solar Hill. So that kind of changes some of my comments that I originally made before I submitted this to you all. So Lot 37B, the other one, 37A, will be 5.82 acres. Lot 37B will be 5.8 acres and have access from Kerrville Country Drive. These lots are located in Kerrville's ETJ and would typically be platted through both the City of Kerrville and Kerr County simultaneously. There is a request to only plat this property through Kerrville and for the court to waive platting oversight and approval. Although platting oversight might be waived, signature blocks for both the Kerr County Floodplain Administrator and OSSF designated representative would be required still on the plat. However, in my review, additional right-of-way will be needed along Kerr Country Drive. And because of that, if it's going to be dedicated to the county, it has to go through Commissioner's Court to receive that right-of-way dedication. So the county engineer requests that the court deny the applicant's request to waive platting oversight and approval to the City of Kerrville, which the surveyor said, hey, I expected y'all to deny this because of that. He was asking because his client said, please ask. And number 2, set a public hearing for 10 a.m. on June 14, 2021 for a revision of plat for Kerr Country Estates, Section 2, Lot 37, Volume 4, page 131, Precinct 1.
But the agenda item is just set a public hearing.
Set a public hearing because
But it's just to set a public hearing.
It is to set a public
hearing. So I move for approval. And this will clean up something that we didn't even know really was a problem.
But it's a public hearing, so we're doing.
Yeah.
Scheduling. Okay.
Second.
Motion has been made by Commissioner Baloo, seconded by Commissioner Letts, to set a public hearing for 10 a.m. on June 14, 2021 for a revision of plat for Kerrville Country Estates, Section 2, Lot 37. Any other discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 5-0. 1.28, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action for the court to approve a preliminary plat for the YO HQ Ranches subdivision in Precinct 4.
Judge and Commissioners, this proposal is for 25 large tracts. Each one of them is over 100 acres each. So this is what we call ranchettes. With 2 new private roads, Gavilon Road and Aquia Road. A concept plan meeting was held on April 29th, 2021. Access to the subdivision will be, and the concept plan meeting is with the Commissioner and myself and representatives from Headwaters, Environmental Health, etc. Access to the subdivision will be off of YO Ranch Road, and that is an existing road that is already paved. A portion of the subdivision is in the floodplain and must meet requirements for development within the floodplain. The existing YO Ranch Road is paved and is being tested by a geotechnical lab to ascertain its quality to see if any upgrades are necessary, which we're kind of anticipating there won't. I've driven it, I've looked at it, we've kicked it, we've spit on it, we feel like it's a good road, but we don't know for sure till the geotech report comes back. The proposed roads, those 2 that I mentioned before, will be private, unpaved roads because they serve 8 or less lots. And our regulations state that if you're serving 8 or less lots and the lots that you're creating are all 10 acres or more, and there's a restriction on the plat that those lots can never be further divided, then you may have unpaved roads. This is intended for this whole concept of a very large tracts of land, and it's just not economical to pave ranch roads serving 100-acre ranchettes. And that's why our regulations allow for this. It was intended for that. So again, these lots are 100 plus acres, well above the 10-acre regulation. And they will have a restriction in the when it's platted that they cannot be further subdivided. The county engineer requests the court approve a preliminary plat for YO HQ Ranches subdivision, Precinct 4, and the representative from the developer is here.
Well laid out. I've gone into it and I like everything about it.
That's good.
I move for approval.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Harris, seconded by Commissioner Letts, to approve the preliminary plat for YO HQ Ranches subdivision in Precinct 4. Any other discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 5-0. Item 1.29, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to adopt the Kerr County 2020-21 Annual Road Condition Report in Precincts 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Thank you, Judge. Section 251.005, the Texas Transportation Code requires the following: a commissioner's road report. Now, this is in a county where the commissioner is serving as the road supervisor, which that is not our case. But I'm going to read through it anyway, because when we follow this and when the county engineer and the road administrator prepare this report, it's a super fantastic report that helps us with budgeting, helps us get grants, etc. So the report, it states it should have the following in it. A county commissioner serving as a road supervisor shall make a sworn annual report during the 9th month of the county fiscal year, that's May, on a form approved by the Commissioner's Court showing, number 1, the condition of each road or part of a road and each culvert and bridge in the Commissioner's precinct. Number 2, the amount of money reasonably necessary for maintenance of the roads in the precinct during the next county fiscal year. Number 3, the number of traffic control devices in the precinct defaced or torn down. Number 4, any new road that should be opened in the precinct. And number 5, any bridges, culverts, or other improvements necessary to place the roads in the precinct in good condition and the probable cost of the improvements. 5B, the report shall be entered into the minutes of the Commissioner's Court to be considered in improving public roads and determining the amount of taxes imposed for public roads. And 5C, the report shall be submitted together with each contract made by the court since its last report for any work on any road to the grand jury at the first term of the district court occurring after the report is made to the Commissioner's Court. We haven't been doing that because we don't really have to do this report. In 1986, Kerr County abandoned the Commissioner Road Supervisor form of government and instead adopted the Road and Bridge Unitized System to be operated by a road administrator and/or county engineer. Therefore, the annual report is not a necessity, but it serves as a budgeting and reporting tool and is sometimes necessary to apply for certain state or federal grants. The attached report has been modified to include costs of repairs for specific roads due to oil and gas or overweight truck traffic. It was useful for the County Transportation Infrastructure Fund grants that we just got last year. We secured $92,000 in 2020 because we did this report. And it's also going to be a good report for road degradation due to the disaster recovery 4586, which is the winter storm Uri we just went through. It's going to be useful for FEMA grants. That's why we're here, folks. We're here to get money from the federal government to aid us in the disaster we just went through. We're here to get money from the state from oil and gas degradation to our roads from heavy truck traffic. We don't have a lot of that, but we do have it. I'm going to go through the report real quick, and I'm going to recommend that you approve it. If you do have the spreadsheet that I gave you, you go to the very last page. Number 1, our road condition. A 1 means that the road needs to be reconstructed. A 2, it needs to be sealed. Number 3 is it's in fair condition. 4, it's in good condition. And 5, it's excellent, like a brand new road, just a couple years old. Our totals for this year, we're averaging now a 2.95 of that condition index. Okay, a year ago, we were at 2.8. You made huge strides to go from a 2.8 to just basically a 3.0. That's huge. And really our goal is going to be somewhere between 3.0 and 4.0 to just maintain this so that our roads are just always in good shape. Okay, you've got to remember that we were on about a 17 or 18, maybe even a 19-year schedule for resealing roads. That's too long. The seals don't last that long. We're on a 10-year schedule right now, and in order to maintain that, we've got to continue to shoot about 50 miles of roads every year. So let's keep looking through. So our main road degradation cause overall is just delayed maintenance. We got out of a 10-year cycle. Okay, our culvert cost to repair or replace, and this is really more of a replace. Our culverts are okay, but there's some of them that are undersized. Precinct 1, you got about $50,000 of culverts that probably need to be replaced in the next coming 5 to 10 years. Precinct 3, about 15 grand. Precinct 4, about 90 grand. That's a total of about 155,000. That's not something we need to do today. In the next 10 years, we probably need to upgrade some culverts. The bridge cost to repair and replace. Right now, we've got $600,000 identified for Precinct 2. This is over at Dave's place. We've been talking about this for years. That bridge is not on the bridge program because the span is less than 20 feet. If the span was 20 feet or more, it could be on that TxDOT bridge program and get into that cycle where we only pay 10 or 20% of the cost. But right now, this is 100% on us. Again, I don't think it's something we jump up and hold the presses and go fix immediately, but we've got to keep it on our radar screen for the next 5 or 10 years. Traffic control devices. Precinct 1, you had 43. Precinct 2, 118. We're talking about street signs that got knocked down and had to be replaced, or new ones that got put up. Precinct 3, 33, and Precinct 4, 152. So Precinct 4 wins the battle of signs this year. A total of 346 for that whole year that started May of 2020 and ended April 30th of 2021. So that whole year cycle. New roads needed for opening. Again, this is out in the future. Precinct 1, we've talked about a Ranchero Shepherd Reese connector. We've talked about a Fisher to Upper Turtle Creek connector. Precinct 2, a River Hill bypass from State Highway 173 to State Highway 16. Precinct 3, a bypass, I-10 to State Highway 27 somewhere. And Precinct 4, we don't have anything identified for Precinct 4.
Is there anything on concept for the Precinct 3, the bypass between Interstate 10 and Highway 27?
Not yet. No. The idea is pretty much try to avoid comfort, but it's going to take something jointly, probably Kendall County, trying to figure out how to do that. And looked at other bypass further out, but they're not real feasible further west. And that may never happen. It's just, it needs to be looked at, trying to get around.
Yeah.
But there's more and more traffic, especially with the growth in your precinct, they all take that first comfort exit to go out to the middle of town.
Okay.
But,
Well, Troy, I'm glad, happy to see that you have on there the potential for River Hill bypass.
Yes, sir.
Too. So
Yes,
it's
sir.
good. Probably going to be a long time ever happening, but it's good to put it on the radar.
And this is a good time, and also
Right.
through the budget process, anytime as a commissioner that you see another road that needs to be added to this list, just tell me and we'll stick it on there so we don't lose sight of it.
Okay.
Got to keep it in our windshield.
Charles,
Yes, sir.
are you finished?
No, I'm not. Our proposed maintenance for 2021, these are roads that are going to happen this summer. It all depends on the weather and whether or not we get any more, disasters. But right now, we plan on doing 15 miles in Precinct 1, 9 miles in Precinct 2, 3 in Precinct 3, and 19 in Precinct 4, for a total of 47 miles. So again, we're trying to hit that 50-mile mark. We have a total of 467 miles, so 10 years, that'd be 47 miles a year. We say 50 because we're rounding up, but as long as we do 47 miles a year, we're in good shape. And that's what we want to do. Our 2021 proposed maintenance budget, we're budgeting right now, you are budgeting $1.3 million. Okay? Now, 92,000 of that is going to be reimbursed through the CTIF because we have this fancy report. That's why we got that money. And we also had some cost savings in our contract with Edmund Jinsky. So we're actually going to spend $1,050,000, something like that, out of the 1.3 that is in the budget. Cost for repairs of specific roads due to oil and gas, we're receiving that $92,000. It's going to happen this summer, and that's Witt Road when that gets redone. We'll get reimbursed $92,000. Cost of repairs for specific roads due to disaster recovery 4586 Winter Storm Uri degradation. Precinct 1, 1.1 million. Precinct 2, 85,000. Precinct 3, 30,000. Precinct 4, 75,000. The total of about $1.3 million of damage that we are hoping to get money back from FEMA. I did get a report in last week late from our geotechnical engineer, and he said, you've got really good base under Shepherd Reese Road and under Ranchero Road. So those numbers are going to go down.
Good.
And I'll turn in some final numbers this week to Cali with the auditor's office that will go to FEMA. It's all due May 20th, I think, but we're trying to get it this week. And this report is part of what's being turned into FEMA so that they can see that we're doing a good job taking care of our roads. We're only asking for money on the roads that were in pretty good shape and they got damaged from the storm. And then our 2022 road maintenance. Let's just look at the bottom line. We need to spend about $1.3 million in 2022 to maintain this, trying to get about 50 miles a year chip seal. And we can go through that over the budgeting process, but you're budgeting 1.3 right now. So I don't see that as any kind of an issue. It looks like we're in good shape. I don't know what's going to happen to oil and gas prices and how that might affect us. These are today's dollars. We may have to add a little bit if we feel that we foresee asphalt prices going up, which I'm sure they will. Having said all of this, the county engineer recommends the court adopt the Kerr County 2020-21 annual road condition report, precincts 1, 2, 3, 4. I will need signed annual road report documents from each one of you commissioners that have to be notarized, and they're prepared for you. The dollar value for each, if you add them all up, they add up to the 1.3. Please understand, when I prepared that, really didn't know what roads we're going to do next year, so I used the computer to just select the ones that it's been a long time since they've been sealed for the purposes of having a bottom line number. But in reality, we'll probably even it more out when we actually do the roads. So just take that into account, but please, if we can get these signed, this is what we're turning into FEMA. Try to get reimbursed.
I move for approval.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Harris, seconded by Commissioner Ballou, to approve the annual road condition report for all precincts. Any discussion?
Yes. I think Lang Road needs to come off the list. because we abandoned that.
Remove lane. Very good.
With that change.
Okay, then, do you all agree to? Sure.
Yep.
Revise your
Yes.
motion in a second?
Yep.
Okay, any other discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 5-0.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Let's go back and pick up where we left off at 10:15. And that was item 1.14, which is to consider, discuss, and take appropriate action. And I'm going to call them all together. 1.14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and 19. And I'll just read them all. Consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to approve a $50 donation from a citizen to the Sheriff's Equipment Fund. Consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to approve a $1,000 donation from a citizen for the Sheriff's Special Response Team Fund. Consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to approve a $10,000 donation from a citizen for the Sheriff's Special Response Team Fund. Consider and discuss, take appropriate action to approve a $750 donation from the Rotary Club of Kerrville for the Sheriff's Office Training School. Consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to approve a $500 donation from a citizen for the Sheriff's Special Response Team Fund. And 1.19 is consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to approve a $500 donation from Ray Enterprises, Inc. for the Sheriff's Special Response Team Fund. Sheriff Latham.
Yes, sir. Yeah, there only needs to be noted one change, 1.17 to the new account number that needs to go to is 10-370-530. But I'm looking for y'all's approval for these 6 donations, and they would, like you said, will go to the different funds, equipment, training, and special response team.
Make a motion to approve all 6 as presented.
Second. Motion's been made by Commissioner Letts, seconded by Commissioner Harris to approve all 6 donations as presented. Any discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand.
Did a good job of raising money, Sheriff.
They're trying. Just don't keep that in mind.
Sheriff, would you mind please repeating that new account number?
Yes, ma'am. 1.17, it will go to 10-370-530. Thank you.
Okay, going back to our regular agenda item, is 1.30, which is to consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to approve the 2022 Kerr County Resolution for the Indigent Defense Improvement Grant Program. And Mr. Bull was here. This is routine. This is just a resolution that we need to send off to TIDC in order to get our grant monies for the next year.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Letts, seconded by Commissioner Moser, to approve the resolution for the Kerr County Indigent Defense Improvement Grant Program. Any discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 5-0. 1.31, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to reappoint Rosa Lavender as the Kerr County representative to the Alamo Area Council of Governments Criminal Justice Advisory Committee. And I put this on the agenda to try to get this sealed as quickly as possible because I was afraid she wasn't going to do it for us again. But she does an outstanding job, and she has agreed to stay on and do it for another 2 years for us.
Will she be an employee to do that?
No.
Okay.
I'm hand approval. Second. Okay. The motion's been made by Commissioner Blue, seconded by Commissioner Harris to approve that. By way of discussion, we actually have 2 appointees and 2 alternates. And the 2 regular appointees are Rosa and Mary Krebs with KPD, both of which do an outstanding job. Of the, I'm told about that, of all the people on that committee, there are only a half a dozen or so that read every single grant, and 2 of them are from Kerrville, and we're proud of that. I'm wearing my alternates out, I know. Our alternates are Jody and Callie. And what Rosa tells me, that for alternates, what we're probably going to do this next year is look for people that are more in line to get the grants. And I'm looking to the Sheriff's Office. I know Jeff Wendland has served on there before. I don't know, but somebody from the Sheriff's Office to help identify. But there's a lot of grant money out there, what we call the low-hanging fruit. If we just knew to apply for it,
So this is, you gotta have a dollar in the fight, makes
Yes.
more sense.
Yes.
Sure.
And the other one that I'm looking to ask to be the new alternate would be Jason Davis with juvenile. Be good additions for us. And they're alternates, they don't go to all the meetings. But I need to take some stuff off of Jody's plate. And free my auditor's office, which is understaffed anyway. That's my discussion on it. Okay.
I'll make a motion to, or approve the agenda. We've already done that.
We got the motion in a second. So those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous. 1.32 is to consider, discuss, and take appropriate action on the implementation of the ban burn. This is just routine. We have to do it every so often. What, once a quarter?
Yeah, every 90 days.
Yeah.
Move for approval.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made by Commissioner Letts, seconded by Commissioner Moser, to approve the implementation of the burn ban. Any discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous. 1.33, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to determine whether to allow the retail fireworks permit holders to sell fireworks to the public in celebration of Memorial Day beginning May 26th and ending at midnight on May 31. I put this on the agenda because we have to take action by, what date is it? May 20 or something?
Midweek.
May 14th.
Yeah.
And if we don't take action, then they can't sell it. So
I move for approval.
Second.
we're acceptable limitations, right?
Yes.
Yep. So we've got a motion by Commissioner Harris, seconded by Commissioner Blue, to allow the sale of fireworks for the Memorial Day weekend from May 26th and ending at midnight on May 31.
Does anybody sell fireworks during that period?
I don't know.
I know that Thomas Jeffers with the church in Ingram said they would Memorial Week.
Same question about Cinco de Mayo.
Yeah. I don't mind doing them, but if no one's asking to do it,
right,
we don't need to do it.
I think there were a couple of stands open for
Cinco de Mayo.
Okay.
Okay, so we've got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous 5-0. 11 o'clock timed item, 1.34. I apologize. Consider, discuss, and take appropriate action on a request from the Boy Scouts of America to use the courthouse grounds on Tuesday, May the 18th for the Cub Scout Pack sign-up. Terry Ellis. Welcome to county government. Sorry.
Thank you, sir. I've been with the Boy Scouts 40 years. I've been to a lot of commissioner courts requesting things, so it's typical. But thank you, Judge and commissioners, for letting me come and visit with you briefly. We traditionally do all of our recruiting for Cub Scouts at the schools. We usually do it in the fall and we do it in the spring. And the school district is not allowing nonprofit groups or non-affiliated groups to use the schools at this time. They're willing to let us put up flyers and do announcements on the intercoms, things like that. So we have to find a location to have a sign up. So this is PAC 60, which is sponsored by the Methodist Church, and PAC 1205, which is sponsored by the Kroc Center. And on that evening of the 18th, they would like to be able to, they're probably going to put up a couple of pop-up tents. And they'll have one for the parents can go over and talk to them about, joining, things like that. Then the other pop-up they'll have set up where kids can do a craft project while their parents are doing that. I noticed in your form we're not going to be putting any signs on the buildings or anything like that. We won't need anything from the county. We'll bring our own tables and everything like that. We will put up, we would like to put up a few yard signs like this, probably on that Monday, just so come and join on Tuesday. We won't have them up, and we'll take everything down and we will clean the property because we'll have enough volunteers. And I guess the only other thing I can say is that we do carry liability insurance on all of our events, and so if you want me to send you all a certificate of that insurance, I can do that.
Any problem with that? I don't know of any. I move for approval.
Second.
Motion has been made by Commissioner Moser, seconded by Commissioner Harris, to approve the use of the courthouse grounds on May the 18th for the Cub Scout Pack sign-up. Any discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 5-0.
Does that include that they can put out some signs
Sure.
previous to that out on the corner?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do those have like little metal wires? Is that
Yes.
a yard sign? Okay.
Yes, yeah, we have a little, I just want to bring in just the plastic, but that's what they say. And I like to put them up like that Monday. That way,
on these.
Yeah,
opposite corner.
have a couple there that people would see them as a reminder. But we are sending out flyers through the school, and hopefully we'll get a good coverage in the newspaper also.
I'm gonna wear my Cub Scout shirt.
If you have a PSA, we know somebody that might pronounce it.
Yes, we do.
Got the Scouts on the
Just give him a call.
Okay, yeah, I think when I was reading, I tried to call you before.
Brandon Miller will come in and promote it. That's
Okay.
what he told me.
Okay, he'll be back. He'll be back in town on the 10th, I think. So yeah, we'll get him. Okay, I just noticed when I tried to call you about getting permission, and you mentioned that you had your radio show, something like that. So I didn't know your radio show. But I called you a couple years ago about I knew a guy in Edmond, Oklahoma named Harley Ballou. If it was the same guy, you know, but you sure.
Well, I can't talk about that right now.
Oh, okay.
That's a joke.
No, I understand. Okay. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Sorry to keep you waiting.
No, we'll take good care of your property, okay? Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move on to the approval agenda, 2.1, pay the bills.
Invoices for today's consideration are $841,073.15.
We will pay the bills as presented by the auditor.
Second.
A motion's been made by Commissioner Moser, seconded by Commissioner Ballou to pay the bills as presented. Any discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 5-0. 2.2, budget amendments.
Yes, we have 5 today, line item transfers within their department. Court-appointed CPS 216th District Court, Maintenance, Constable 4, and Plateau Water Planning Grant.
What was the last one?
Plateau Water Planning.
Move for approval.
Second.
A motion's been made by Commissioner Letts, seconded by Commissioner Harris to approve the budget amendments as presented. Any discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous. 5-0. Late bills
There are not any.
and auditor reports.
There are not any.
Thank you. 2.5, monthly reports.
Yes. For March 2021, County Treasurer Tracy Sullivan, Auditor Tanya Shelton. For April 2021, Constable Monthly Report, Constable 1, Tommy Rodriguez, Constable 2, Kyle Snyder, Constable 3, Ken Wilkie, Constable 4, Brad Ryder. Fines, judgments, and jury fees collected, JP1, Missy French, JP2, J.R. Hone, JP3, Kathy Mitchell. Indigent Services, HR Director Jennifer Doss, Auditor Tanya Shelton, and County Clerk Jackie J.D. Dowdy. I move for approval.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Harris, seconded by Commissioner Letts to approve the monthly reports as presented. Any discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous. 5-0. Before we go into executive session, I'm going to take...
Court orders.
Oh, court orders, I'm sorry.
Court order from our May 26th meetings, numbers 38679 through 38696. I did have one change on court order 38683. This is previously read, approve, and accept bank depository contract and have county judge sign the same. This be changed. I thought it should probably read, approve, and accept bank depository contract with Happy State Bank and have county judge sign. Basically, I included who the new depository is. I don't want to change them without making a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Letts, seconded by Commissioner Harris to approve the court orders as revised. Any other discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. 5-0. 3.1, status reports from department heads. 3.2, status reports from elected officials. 3.3, status reports from liaison commissioners.
All I have is just with the airport, and I mentioned it. The ILA with the city will be ready at our next meeting, I believe. We're just about there. The city's agreed to, well, all but one new modification, but it should be done.
Maintenance. I don't know if everybody's aware, but they're doing some painting. They've done the district clerk's office and working on the top floor and proceed from there as they can. Good. Around mowing and everything else. Okay.
Anything else?
There is one other, I will say, we received a large insurance check last week, which covered a lot of the storm damage from the winter storm. It was at the airport, at River Star. I think that was it, just those two. Oh, the sheriff's office. So it was like 116,000, 167,000, 118,000.
The only thing that I would share is we had a really good turnout at the National Day of Prayer here on the courthouse grounds. We did. It was really impressive. Very good. Great event. I'm going to move to the public agenda, the addendum item here, which is 4.4, which is deliberation regarding real property. What that is there's no need for it to be an executive session. We have an issue. I'm not going to start it that way. We had the opportunity to avoid an issue at the 550 Earl Garrett building. I've reported before that when they have to go in and rupture that membrane on the roof, that nobody wants to warranty the repairs. I got a call from a representative from the seller wanting to know if it was okay if they had somebody just go ahead and estimate what it would cost to put a new roof on that building. Doesn't hurt to ask. So they did, and it's well, and we're looking at probably closing on this deal and taking possession a month early, the end of May, end of this month. And they're to the point that if we're going to put a new roof on it, this is the time to do it. And I asked them where we were with regard to our costs and expenses, and we're well under budget. So the amendment
I thought we had overages.
Well, we do.
Yeah.
We do. But we approved up to 550, if you remember.
Yeah.
And we're at about 470. And there's money available to put that new roof on there if you authorize them to do so. And the seller's lawyer, who's a good friend of mine, David Jackson, says if they want to do anything. We think that the amendment language is broad enough for us to go ahead and do it, but they would like for us to bless them putting on that new roof.
What kind of roof? Metal?
No, it's composite. It's
Composite.
a flat roof.
Huh?
It's a flat roof.
Flat roof. Oh, good.
With the rubberized.
So what's the cost?
I think it's going to be about $30,000.
Are they gonna take off everything, take it down to the decking, or are they gonna put something on top of what's there? That would be my.
I didn't ask that question.
Do we have to get bids?
No, because we're buying it from the seller's doing this.
Okay.
And we took some of the things that we wanted the seller to do back because he was getting nervous about things, but this is one he has volunteered to do for us. And we can take possession of that building by the end of the month.
Flat roofs always leak, so.
With a new roof.
Yeah. So therefore, fix it.
Fix it.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to know if it's gonna be a roof on top of a roof, or if they're gonna strip it down.
You're not gonna get on it.
You don't know that. Without parachute. Okay, I promise. I won't get on it. But, I mean.
Well, wait, if they're gonna guarantee it, why do you care?
Because it adds to the weight on the structure, and there comes a time where if it's already happened a couple of times, if there's been a lot of repairs on it, I have been on a lot of roofs, other than the one I fell off of.
This is nice and flat.
Nice and flat, but still, I've seen a lot of patch jobs and stuff. I'm just curious to know if they're taking it all the way down, or if there's only ever been one roof on it. I'd be curious about that.
I don't know the answer to the question.
But I would recommend we authorize them to put the new roof on. I mean, really, either way.
Well, that would change the price, though, if you don't have to strip it all down, or if you do.
Well,
they guarantee it, I don't care.
I've seen a lot of bad things happen on construction sites.
I mean, better from a timing standpoint.
Right.
Well, I think we'll call and get the information.
Yeah.
But at this point, we're within budget, we're within the scope of the amendment, and we do want a warranty on that roof.
Sure, I agree with all that.
So,
I don't know what the criteria would be to say remove the old roof or roofing or not. I mean, what would be the criteria by with which to make that decision?
Well, what does it bear? What is that structure bear? What kind of weight? It's got,
Well, do structural analysis of the roof to see if it take.
I wouldn't
extra
want to,
load?
I wouldn't want to have to do that, but I wouldn't want to find out the hard way that there's more weight than it needed. And you have HVAC units and stuff up there, right?
Well, it's these.
Now, is
price-
the reason for this, because they have to go up through the roof?
Right.
They said they had to cut into it.
They have to cut into the membrane
Uh-huh.
for the scuttle holes that are now required to access the roof that were not required previously because of the number of AC units that we have up on top of the roof. And the other thing is that we have the penthouse for the elevator. They cut that membrane in order to get that penthouse up there. It goes up about 3 feet.
Yeah.
And so in order to seal around those cuts, nobody wants to run. Sure. And I understand, it's an old roof.
That's where the leaks occur.
And so what Harvey did was go get an estimate to just go ahead and redo the whole roof, because that's what they were recommending be done, because it needs one.
Let's do it now than 3 years from now.
That's
The
my
price
thought.
might include taking it down to nothing and hauling off the old one, but it might not.
The roof is probably designed for a foot of snow.
Yeah, there you go. You get 3 roofs on top of it,
Yeah.
plus the HVAC, plus a foot of snow. Got a problem.
Well, I'm still gonna make a motion that we allow, we
Is
instruct
the
them-
roof warranted?
The new one is.
The new one is.
The new one will be.
I second.
Yes, what? I better not say, I thought it was 20 years, I heard in a meeting, but I could be wrong on that.
It's that old.
That'd be good.
The new roof.
Oh, for the
The
warranty
warranty
period?
on the new roof.
Yeah, that'd be good.
I'll second your motion, Judge.
He seconded
it already.
Never mind.
So I made the motion and Commissioner Moser seconded it. Any other discussion? Those in favor of letting put the roof on? Unanimous, 5-0. And I will get you that information.
I would appreciate it.
Judge, before you go into executive session, did you want to, I don't know, you or I wanted to update on CIP stuff?
Okay.
I mean, we didn't talk about it, so we're, kind of, what was going on, I think it's gonna be more for the next meeting.
We've got the CIP. We're gonna bring all that stuff to the court next meeting on the 17th, or not the 17th, the 24th. Go ahead, yeah.
No, it was just that, basically that where we are on it, we'll be bringing, a consultant that'll help, hopefully, bond counsel, cost estimates and all of that, to set everything in motion, to go over a little bit, I think, as to what we can do as a governmental entity and what we cannot do, and political action committees, and kind of the whole, lay everything out, for the court to kind of start moving.
We got a lot of legal advice on the do's and don'ts for bond issues. And we've invited the lawyers to come back on the 24th and make the presentation to the entire court.
Good.
Probably an executive session as to what we can and can't do. But the short version of that is, once we call the election, which will be mid-August, then all of the commissioners and county employees cannot take a advocate's position. We then become informative on it. But between now and then, we can advocate.
Is this considered a GO? Is that what this is, or this is a regular straight-up bond?
This would be a bond.
Bond.
This is a bond.
And it's how you have to group things.
There's a lot of CO, there's a GO also.
Geo.
But, and that was probably the most informative part for us, was to get educated on how they can group the propositions.
Yes.
And even though we've got right at, 8 or 9 projects that were recommended, which includes some of the ones here at the courthouse, such as the new jury room for the county court at law, and IT, and moving the tax office and all of that. They've got them grouped into 3 propositions. Anything related to the courthouse needs and functions, to include our annexes, the new properties, all stuff we need to do that will be a proposition. Animal services will be a separate proposition. And then the indoor arena at the Youth Event Center will be a separate proposition.
So all could pass or fail, or could be a mixed bag.
Right. Well, it'll be pretty much, it'll be very informative meeting, I think, to get the court up to speed. We haven't done one of these in
And
a while.
be a chance for the Commissioners Court to meet the bond consultant. This is the one that Dusty Trailer uses, Tom Spurgeon. Also the one that Bobby Templeton and Ingram ISD used. I've been very impressed with it.
Sure. And the consultant largely keeps us legal on any literature that's printed or anything to make sure that we're in full compliance with the state law and that we're not advocating by our verbiage.
This would be on the November
Right.
ballot. They'll
Right.
have to make the decision mid-August.
They'll be responsible for making sure that all of our materials are compliant. And then they're going to prepare, I call it the don't do list. For example, one of the things that we're not going to be able to say after we call the election, we can't say the word need. There's a whole list of words that they tell us don't use. Once we've called the election, now we can use them. But once we call the election, then we just have to tell people, this is what's available, this is the need that's trying to be met. But we can't say we need. And I mean, it sounds kind of silly, but they were going through a list of words and kind of like, and we're going to have to give you a printout of that, so what I can't say.
I wonder if the federal government could do that on budgets. We need.
But a lot of that, so I just wanted to update a little bit. CIP's been meeting with a lot of this stuff and just report up to speed at our next meeting. Learn a lot.
Well, I'm thinking about when the sheriff was talking about the jail. And I thought that he did a very good job of presenting the need, the requirements. We have certain of these things we're talking about are requirements.
Right.
And others of them are maybe needs, and others are on the wish list. Make life easier. So
Well, and
we need to do something with this indigent defense building up here. That's a need.
But just to refresh the public's recollection of what got a lot of this started is the last legislative session mandated, an unfunded mandate, 2 counties, that our county courts at law are supposed to have 12-person juries now. Well, we've got a tiny jury room for 6 people, and we don't want to just move that court. We just remodeled that court a couple of years ago. And so in order to be able to meet that mandate, we have to go in and carve out about I'm going to say 18 by 22, 24 foot jury room in the tax office. That's the only place to put it. And with that, we got to move. It's it's musical chairs. So now we got to move the tax office. We'll move the tax office. That's one of the buildings down the street. And then we're going to. So I mean, a lot of this stuff started because the legislature made us do things that we didn't necessarily want to do, but we had to do.
And the upgrade and improvements for the citizens to utilize the tax office as well.
But I really think when the public sees the way we have been running county government on a shoestring and the facilities, these improvements have been needed for decades.
And it was well looked at. Judge, another thing that I forgot to mention in my liaison comments, on the 17th there is a workshop we planned, and it's to go over the auditor, Jennifer Doss, and myself, primarily. Heather's been involved some too, have been going over the county benefits package and looking at everything all over for retirees, for everyone, and gonna have a workshop to go over those and some things that are recommended change and some things we don't recommend change, and the financial short-term and long-term consequences of both. So anyway,
good.
So it's I'm already getting phone calls from people concerned. We're reducing benefits. We're not trying to reduce benefits, because I'm not trying to reduce benefits, but we are changing benefits. So I'm recommending anyway that we make some changes.
Okay, we have a brief executive session. One is a consultation with county attorney regarding economic development, and another is to consider and discuss, take appropriate action to discuss a personnel issue. And it is 11:58, and we will go into executive session. long?
6:30.
On Wednesday, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Wednesday.
Chance of being the Center Point High School cafeteria.
Yeah, right. Primarily, there were just a number of people had concern about water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I just had somebody asking me.
I'll be right here.
Joe, did you print one of those forms?
And
I
people
did,
don't
I
like,
put it
Okay.
like wrenches to be cut up and, you know. Too
Yeah,
bad.
it saddens everybody to see that YO deal.
Doesn't
the
sadden
way to do
everybody,
it.
it saddens some people.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
As far as wildlife and everything, the way they're doing it out there is really good.
Okay, it is 12:24, and we're coming out of executive session, and there is no action to be taken. And so, Kerr County Commissioners Court is adjourned.